Chapter 154. Looking at Hanzo cutting the wind release, the three felt a little powerless. Their cooperation was useless in front of this man. Are you going to give up? Hanzo narrowed his eyes and looked at the three ninjas in front of him. For a while Hanzo didn't take the initiative to attack. If it was before, he would want to quickly deal with these three ninjas, and then cut into the battlefield. But the lightning release made Hanzo change his mind. Being able to use that kind of lightning release, no matter which village's ninja, will have a decisive effect on the battlefield. In other words, the situation of the battlefield should be clear now. At this time Hanzo entered the battlefield again, so it won't help. In this case he simply won't enter the battlefield. He didn't want to form an alliance. And on the battlefield, there weren't many ninjas in the land of rain. The main forces were the sand and the rock. Let the three of them fight each other. Hanzo thought so in his heart, so he didn't rush to make a move. It's just that Hanzo didn't know that the sand ninjas had the same idea. So from the beginning to the end, the only honest ninja in the three alliance was the rock ninjas. As for why this happened, the ninja historians also have different opinions. After all, the Tsuchikage was famous for being an old man, and he rarely fell for other people's tricks. Finally, more than 100 years later, when the tomb robbers, archaeologists were excavating the 72 tombs set up by the Tsuchikage, they accidentally found a diary, and everyone understood why the Tsuchikage was such an honest boy. The diary recorded that the Tsuchikage came to Woodleaf when he was a child, and then he was beaten by a strange uncle. Since then, the Tsuchikage hated Konoha to the bone, so he vowed to defeat Woodleaf at all costs. As for why the Tsuchikage set up so many tombs, it's still an unsolved mystery, but everyone guessed that it had something to do with Woodleaf. Having said that, Orochimaru and Jiraiya heard Hanzo's mocking words. They were, in fact, still in their 20s. Therefore they who were full of vigor immediately formed hand seals with their hands. Their incomparable tacit understanding was displayed once again. Their hands left afterimages one after another. Fire release, fire dragon flame bullet, fire release, fire dragon flame technique. The two ninjutsu intertwined in the air and rushed towards Hanzo with great momentum. Hanzo looked at the fire dragon rushing towards him, and began to form a seal. Water escape, great waterfall technique. The fire dragon and the water dragon collided with each other, releasing a dense fog that enveloped the entire battlefield. In the thick fog, Orochimaru and the other two immediately formed a triangle. Suddenly he heard the sound of something breaking through the air. Hundreds of kunai shot out from the thick fog, and enveloped the three of them, not giving them any room to dodge. Orochimaru and Jiraiya took out their kunai and protected Tsunade. Ding! Ding! At this time, Hanzo waved his long chain scythe from the fog and rushed towards Jiraiya's lower abdomen. Jiraiya hurriedly tried to use his kunai to block the attack. Flash! Hanzo muttered, and a layer of wind attribute chakra was added to his scythe, and the cutting speed suddenly increased like lightning. Orochimaru kicked Jiraiya fiercely. Stab! Even if Orochimaru had already made a move, he was still a step too late. The ninja uniform under his arm was cut, and the kunai in his hand was cut in half by the scythe. The cut looked unusually smooth. Hanzo also flashed past Jiraiya. Jiraiya couldn't help but take a breath. If Orochimaru hadn't sensed it in advance, perhaps? Chain scythe double slash. Hanzo dodged, and the long chain fluttered. The scythe that had already passed through Jiraiya's chest flashed a strange arc in the air, and once again attacked Jiraiya's neck from behind. Hidden Shadow Mini Snake Hand. At the critical moment of life and death, Orochimaru's ninjutsu accurately wrapped around Hanzo's body. Jiraiya also struggled to tilt his head, so that Hanzo's scythe passed through his shoulder and avoided the fatal blow. But the blood flowing out of Jiraiya's wound was slightly black. It was obvious that Hanzo smeared poison on the scythe. Although Hanzo didn't directly hit Jiraiya's vital point, he wasn't disappointed. He turned around and prepared to leave Jiraiya here. Orochimaru, you go and delay him. I'll go and check on Jiraiya's injury. Tsunade saw this scene and quickly said to Orochimaru. He flashed to Jiraiya's side and took Jiraiya away. He used medical chakra to slowly extract the venom from Jiraiya's wound. After hearing Tsunade's words, Orochimaru hurriedly fought with Hanzo. Orochimaru used his poisonous snakes to madly entangle Hanzo. For a while, Hanzo couldn't get rid of Orochimaru. Hidden Mini Snake Hand. Orochimaru released a ninjutsu. Flash. Orochimaru's ninjutsu was cut in half, but Orochimaru seized the moment after the ninjutsu was used, and used his left hand to attack Hanzo's face. Hanzo couldn't pull back his scythe in time, and could only dodge this attack. Orochimaru saw this scene and laughed. Snake Bomb. After a muffled sound, the snakes in his left hand suddenly exploded. Purple and black poisonous blood scattered in the air and Hanzo's body and face. However, Hanzo threw his scythe forward with all his strength, and the scythe spun like a windmill. Its speed was so fast that Orochimaru could only see the chain, as if there was no blade, rushing straight towards Orochimaru. But Orochimaru used Earth Substitute to dodge Hanzo's sudden attack. Immediately, Orochimaru's eyes showed a trace of doubt. Why didn't his poisonous snakes have any effect? Seeing Orochimaru's eyes, Hanzo said lightly, "Because of the salamander fish's poison sac, I'm already immune to poison, so your poison has no effect." Damn it! Even Orochimaru couldn't help but curse at this time. But even so, Orochimaru could only brace himself and use his agility to continue fighting Hanzo. But Hanzo didn't want to drag this out. He made a hand seal with one hand, and the salamander fish hiding underground came out again, and attacked Orochimaru together with Hanzo. Although the salamander fish had a huge body, its nimble tail gave Orochimaru a headache. When Orochimaru was careless, Hanzo took the opportunity to disappear. Hanzo used the salamander fish to keep Orochimaru busy while he rushed toward Jiraiya and Tsunade. Hanzo rushed toward Jiraiya and Roland. First, he threw out a kunai, then he started to make hand seals. Water Release. Water Dragon Bullet. Because of the climate, the Water Dragon Bullet technique's power increased by a lot. But before Hanzo's attack was completed, Hanzo waved his hand again, and more than 10 explosive charms followed. At this time, Jiraiya's injuries had been stabilized by Tsunade. Although the toxins had not been completely removed, Jiraiya had no problem condensing chakra now. Jiraiya quickly made hand seals. His long white hair began to stand up like a hedgehog, as hard as iron. Jiraiya lowered his head slightly. Ninjutsu Needle Hell. The hair that was as hard as iron shot out and collided with the kunai in the sky. Jiraiya's white hair and the kunai in the sky cancelled each other out, while Jiraiya's hands continued to make hand seals. Fire Release. Fire Dragon Technique. A fire dragon was spat out from Jiraiya's mouth. Although it looked terrifying, it didn't have an advantage in the climate. Under such circumstances, fire release would definitely not be able to cancel out water release. Jiraiya obviously knew this, so he had to let Tsunade do the final defense. Tsunade condensed chakra and wrapped it in his hand, then hammered the ground with force. The ground trembled, and huge rocks rose from the ground, guarding in front of the two, forming a powerful defense for them. The fire dragon and water dragon collided, forming a mist. Sure enough, the fire dragon disappeared, and the water dragon continued to fly toward the two. But after being suppressed by the fire dragon, the water dragon's power had been reduced by more than half. Such power couldn't penetrate the rock at all, so with the power of the explosive charms, it only caused a violent vibration, but the rock was still intact. However, Hanzo had already expected this situation. He immediately made a few strange hand seals, which obviously belonged to Hanzo's secret technique. Tsunade and Jiraiya's feet sank. The ground instantly turned into numerous explosive charms, so densely packed that it was impossible to see how many there were. 50, 100, or even more. Fire Release Explosive Charms. Konoha 50. Chapter 155. The ground was filled with explosive charms, like a giant whirlpool that was about to swallow Tsunade and Jiraiya whole. Heaven Guard Kick. Tsunade stomped her foot, and the explosive charms that were wrapped around her foot were shattered into pieces. However, the remaining explosive charms coiled around her again like poisonous snakes. Hiss. Hanzo made a hand seal and detonated his secret technique. Needle Xidagarba. Jiraiya shouted loudly, and then threw himself at Tsunade and hugged her in his arms. Then, A deafening explosion sounded. Dust and debris flew everywhere. And the rock made by Tsunade had long disappeared, turning into dust and dissipating into the air. After the smoke dispersed, a cocoon-like object appeared. It turned out that at the same time of the explosion, Jiraiya used her hair to wrap the two of them. Hanzo looked at this ninjutsu and felt a trace of regret, because his carefully planned attack did not succeed again. When the cocoon slowly turned back into soft hair, Jiraiya was also standing on the ground, covered in wounds. Her legs seemed to have no strength to stand, and she could only rely on Tsunade to support her. It seemed that the explosion just now had caused quite a lot of damage to Jiraiya. Tsunade was anxious. This degree of burn must be treated quickly. Jiraiya did not care, and his eyes were still fixed on Hanzo, guarding against Hanzo's sudden attack. Jiraiya, Tsunade! Orochimaru shouted when he heard the explosion. Then, without caring about anything else, he used chakra to break through Salamander's defense and came to the two of them. Salamander also stopped attacking under Hanzo's signal. "You two, how are you?" Orochimaru asked anxiously. At this time, Jiraiya's body was covered in wounds, and it looked very serious. "We were hit by Hanzo's explosive charms. If Jiraiya did not use ninjutsu in time, we would have been dead," Tsunade said with some regret. "The difference is really huge." Jiraiya forced a smile at Orochimaru. At this time, he could feel his body going weak. In order to protect Tsunade, he took the full brunt of the explosion. His blood came into direct contact with the poisonous gas in the air, and the antidote pill that he took earlier was no longer enough to resist the poison. Hanzo jumped high and landed on the salamander's head. He looked down at the three of them with an imposing manner. "Now your team has suffered such serious injuries. What else can you do?" Yes, what else could they do? The three of them, who had exhausted almost all of their means, stood in front of the huge black hot pepper fish and looked up. Meanwhile, the man standing at the top was still looking down at them from above. They had reached their limit, but Hanzo didn't seem to be using his full strength. Life and death are in your hands. Do you still want to hold on? You should be very clear. Even if the three of you work together, the gap between you and me can't be closed. Admit defeat, and you can live. Hanzo patiently persuaded the three of them. Don't joke around. Woodleaf's ninjas don't have the habit of admitting defeat on the battlefield. Even if I die, I will never admit defeat. Jiraiya, who was at the end of his rope, didn't have any intention of admitting defeat. He wasn't trying to be brave, but he had a reason to not lose. His companions, disciples, and friends were all fighting for their lives on the battlefield behind him. If he admitted defeat, how could he face those dead ninjas? Orochimaru and Tsunade didn't say anything, but the look in their eyes showed their decision. Never admit defeat. The three of them looked directly at Hanzo, supporting each other, still unwilling to admit defeat. Looking at the three of them, Hanzo suddenly closed his eyes. He was also very hesitant. Should he directly kill these three young people with potential, or should he just let them go like this? If he didn't kill them, he would be very unwilling. This method is undoubtedly releasing the tiger back to the mountain. Woodleaf is strong enough. But if he killed Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, under the anger of Woodleaf, even if Hanzo, Sand Village, and Rock Village joined forces, they would suffer heavy losses. Moreover, the most important thing is that the thunder release kept appearing in Hanzo's mind. It's not that he looks down on the other two villages, but from his years of experience, most of the people who can use this kind of thunder release are Woodleaf's ninjas. Hanzo has a faint feeling in his heart that Woodleaf has won this war. Even the Alliance army is not Woodleaf's opponent. If he also killed Sandaime Naruto's disciple, then will the Land of Rain still exist? Thinking of this, Hanzo's originally condensed killing intent began to dissipate. I haven't seen such excellent juniors like you for a long time. Your strength has been recognized by me. The three of you can leave now. Hanzo's words made Jiraiya, Tsunade, and other two look stunned. Just a moment ago, it was a fight to the death. And judging from the situation of this fight, most likely they will die under Hanzo's hands. But Hanzo suddenly showed an attitude of cherishing talent, and asked the three of them to leave. This change is too strange. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head and said, No, we can't let you enter the battlefield. Don't worry, since I will let the three of you go, naturally I won't continue to cooperate with the Rock and Sakura Shinobu. Of course, I won't enter the battlefield. Hanzo shook his head. This is a situation that Jiraiya and Tsunade didn't expect. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and looked at Hanzo and said, You gave up entering the battlefield. It's not just because of the three of us, is it? He never believed that Hanzo, who can rule the Rain Village as the leader, is a good person. Even if part of the reason why he didn't kill them is because he cherishes talent, it can't be that simple. Hanzo looked down at the three with his hands on his chest. It's very simple. Woodleaf should have won this war. So it's meaningless for us to continue fighting. So, I will be merciful and let you live. Are you satisfied with this explanation? We don't need your pity, we can still fight. Jiraiya was angered by Hanzo's arrogant attitude. Don't say any more, Jiraiya. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya's injury worriedly. Hanzo ignored Jiraiya and turned to leave. But then he suddenly turned his head. Orochimaru and the other two immediately became vigilant. Don't be nervous, kids. The three of you survived in my hands. That's enough to be proud. Let me think. Hanzo looked down at the three. Well, from now on, I will call you Woodleaf Sannin. It's the price of your life. From now on, bear the name given to you by the demigod and live on. Hanzo laughed and stomped his foot on the salamander fish's head. As if it understood, it jumped over Jiraiya and the other two's heads and flew into the distance. Woodleaf Sannin. What the hell is that? Compared to my ninja toad, their taste is so much worse. Jiraiya vented his dissatisfaction at Hanzo's disappearing figure. On the side, Tsunade smiled and said, Okay, my toad ninja. No matter what his intentions were, at least we survived. Hearing this, Jiraiya smiled. As Hanzo left, the poisonous gas that permeated the sky became more and more faint. Looks like he really left. Orochimaru saw this and said, Let's go, this battle is not over yet. Jiraiya heard this and stopped thinking about it. The three of them looked at each other and quickly returned to the battlefield. But the three of them didn't know that the name given to them by the demigod would follow them for life. Rather than calling it an honor, it was more like a chain that constantly reminded them of today's humiliation. Chapter 156. At this moment on the battlefield, because of the departure of the Bijou, Chiyo commanded Sakura Shinobu to slowly move to the edge. She wanted to take the opportunity to escape from the battle. A black eagle hovered in the sky, making a burst of screeching sound. The high-pitched sound could be heard by all the ninjas on the battlefield. This is... A ninja in black clothes raised his head in surprise. He was the second in command of the Rain Village, and the temporary commander of the battlefield when Hanzo wasn't there. In an instant, he recognized the ninja beast Hanzo used to send the message. Land of Rain Ninjas. Retreat. He hesitated, and although he was unwilling, he still issued such an order. As the second in command of the Land of Rain, he was very afraid of Hanzo. Hearing such an order, the Rain Ninjas didn't hesitate. After all, they wanted to leave this damn battlefield for a long time. The gap in strength between them and Woodleaf Ninjas was too big. It felt like a mixed army against a regular army. Although Woodleaf Ninjas didn't understand this signal, they also saw the Rain Ninjas began to retreat. As far as the current situation is concerned, there are only two possibilities for the enemy to suddenly retreat. The first and most likely, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya have already lost, or even died in the hands of a demigod. Then Hanzo sent the signal to let the Rain Ninjas gradually move away from the battlefield, so that his support can be faster. There is another possibility, which is that Orochimaru and the others have already won. Hanzo, in the case of losing, issued a retreat order on the way to escape, while trying to preserve the combat power as much as possible. But as long as there are some rational people, they won't believe this possibility. After all, that's a demigod. The rumor said that Sandaime Naruto wasn't his opponent. Jiraiya and the other two are just Naruto's disciples. Even if they are powerful, they can't reach that height. Therefore, even if they have the greatest confidence in the three of them, most of Konoha's jonins feel that the three of them can at most delay Hanzo's footsteps, and the burden of winning this war is still on their shoulders. But everyone more or less still has a trace of luck in their hearts. After all, even a salted fish has to have a dream. Many people have been fighting in the land of rain for 2 years. Who doesn't want to go home? Of course, Chiyo wasn't so optimistic about Tsunade. She couldn't wait for the slug girl to die. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but smile. Yes, since Hanzo sent the signal, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru should be dead, right? If that was the case, even if they lost the war, it would be worth it. However, before her smile could fully form, it froze. Because 3 familiar voices came from one side of the battlefield at the same time. Summoning technique. The smoke dispersed, and 3 huge summoning beasts appeared on the battlefield. On the head of each summoning beast stood a person, overlooking the whole battlefield. Orochimaru's unique voice with a trace of chakra spread throughout the battlefield. Woodleaf ninjas, this war is our victory. Hearing this, the Woodleaf ninjas below showed a stunned and pleasantly surprised expression. After a moment of silence, noise and screams pierced the sky. Chiyo's eyes showed shock. Looking at the 3 slightly embarrassed figures, she couldn't help but get angry. Looking at the 3 of them, they must have gone through a bitter battle. And in that state, Hanzo can't kill them. Then there is only one answer. He didn't kill Jiraiya and the other 2. Hanzo, you bastard. The 3 jumped from the summoning beasts and immediately crossed the many ninjas, and stood in the center of the battlefield. You 3, are you okay? Hyuga stood up and looked at the 3 in front of him. He couldn't imagine how strong Hanzo was to be able to hurt the 3 of them like this. But because he wanted to rush back quickly, Tsunade only gave them a simple treatment. We are fine. Jiraiya shook his head and said. Tsunade's eyes turned to Sakura Shinobu on the edge of the battlefield, and finally fell on the short woman. Tsunade didn't speak, she just confronted Chiyo's eyes. The 2 of them seemed to have sparks in their eyes. At this time, the Rain Shinobi's troops also gathered under the command of the black-clothed ninja. Let them go. Orochimaru began to order. The land of rain only had a small number of ninjas, and killing them was useless. What's more, Hanzo also let them go. Since the other side has shown kindness, Woodleaf naturally won't embarrass them. After the rain shinobi gradually walked away. Chiyo's twitching face also calmed down, and then she said in a deep voice. Sakura Shinobu's troops continue to retreat. Letting the rain shinobi go because of Hanzo, I can understand that. But why did you let the sand go? Rope Tree stood beside Akira Uchiha and asked. Look at Sakura Shinobu's position. Most of them are now on the edge of the battlefield. We have no chance to force them to stay. And the main force of the sand is not here. We will have to fight Sakura Shinobu sooner or later. So instead of chasing these people, it's better to focus on the main force and kill the rock shinobi in front of us. After all, these are the main force of the rock village. As long as they are annihilated, the Tsuchikage won't have a chance to continue the war. Akira Uchiha explained. Chiyo, you old woman, we are not finished. I will definitely get back at you in the future. Tsunade looked at Chiyo and sneered. Chiyo looked back at Tsunade, snorted, and quickly left the battlefield. When Sakura Shinobu walked away and gradually disappeared from sight, Woodleaf's ninjas breathed a sigh of relief. After all, if they continue to fight with the Sand and the Rock Army, Woodleaf will win, but the losses will be great. However, the faces of the Rock Shinobi became gloomy and panicked. Kimura's face was even more pale. As the commander of the Rock Shinobi, he thought that his plan was perfect for Woodleaf, but now it has evolved into this situation. This time, they may really die here. In the battle just now, they already realized how difficult Woodleaf's forces are. Now that everyone else is gone, they won't be able to fight against Woodleaf. Not to mention, he was seriously injured. Kimura frowned and said loudly, we still have a lot of ninjas, and Woodleaf will also suffer heavy losses. How about this? Let the Rock Ninja go today. I can guarantee that the Earth Country will never be enemies with Woodleaf again. However, Kimura didn't believe what he said. After the last war, how many peace treaties have been signed by the 5 major countries? Didn't they just tear up the treaty? What's more, this kind of verbal promise doesn't count at all. Jiraiya also smiled and said, well, in that case you can all put down your weapons and surrender. We will guarantee your safety, So there's nothing to talk about? Kimura gritted his teeth. Orochimaru shook his head. He didn't want to talk nonsense with him. Would Leaf listen to my orders? Destroy the rock shinobi. Don't leave a single one alive. Chapter 157. With Orochimaru's order, Wood Leaf's ninjas rushed towards the rock ninjas. The rock ninjas only resisted for a little bit before they were defeated. If there was a fool like Naruto among these rock ninjas who lost their faith, he only needed to use the ultimate ninjutsu mouth release persuasion technique. Not only would he be able to restore chakra, but he would also be able to unite the rock ninjas and defeat Wood Leaf. It's a pity that none of these rock ninjas were lucky enough to step into this mysterious realm. So mouth release is really a good way to gather people's hearts. To put it bluntly, why is it that Wood Leaf's ninjas are recognized as the strongest? In the past, Ginkaku and Ginkaku were able to kill Raikage and Naidame Naruto. Do you dare to say that there are no strong ninjas in the Cloud Village? But even so, the ninja world basically recognized that Konoha's ninjas are stronger. It's not because of their individual strength, but because of their unity. In a more old-fashioned way, it's because of the will of fire. Seeing that Wood Leaf was about to liberate the Land of Rain, Akira Uchiha also wanted to rush out and continue to gain points. However, Shinsosuke stopped him. In Shinsosuke's words, Akira Uchiha didn't even have chakra, so he shouldn't rush into the battlefield. If you accidentally die again, how am I going to explain it to Orochimaru and the others? Akira Uchiha thought about it and didn't continue to insist. After such a long battle, he was also very tired. He turned his head and found that he was surrounded by his own people, so he directly leaned on Shinsosuke's back and fell asleep. Akira Uchiha didn't know what happened after that. Since Orochimaru said that the rock ninjas would be annihilated, then the rock ninjas shouldn't be able to escape. Where is this? Akira Uchiha opened his eyes. You're awake, Chun. Mikoto, who had been accompanying Uchiha-chan the whole time, immediately said, You're awake. Mikoto, where is this? Akira Uchiha found himself lying on a bed at this time. His head was a little dizzy, probably because he slept for too long. His consciousness wasn't as fast as usual, but he immediately found out that he was in a tent. After falling asleep, he should have been brought back to Wood Leaf's camp by Shinsosuke, but there was a smell of alcohol here like a ward. In this tent, Rope Tree's head, and his head was wrapped in a thick bandage, reading a book in his hand. From time to time, there was an inexplicable laughter coming out of his mouth. Fortunately, the young Rope Tree was not reading the artsy 18 forbidden novels like Intimate Paradise. Of course, Jiraiya had not started writing that novel yet. From Akira Uchiha's angle, he could just see the title of Rope Tree's book. Memoirs of a Geisha in the Land of Rain. It was said to be a novel written by Jiraiya based on his own experience, to call on us to protect the lost traditional culture. This is Wood Leaf's Frontline Command's ninja hospital, Mikoto said. Because Akira Uchiha fell asleep on the battlefield, Shinsosuke was worried about his condition and sent him to the temporary hospital. This kid was Wood Leaf's hero, so it was not an exaggeration to take him seriously. After a checkup, it was found that he had overused his chakra. However, there were some minor injuries on his body from the battle. And other than that, he was fine. So Mikoto stayed here to take care of Akira Uchiha. It's already night? Akira Uchiha looked at the dark sky outside and asked. It's already night, but it's the second night. 1 day and 1 night? No wonder his head was dizzy. What happened to Rope Tree? Wasn't he fine before? Akira Uchiha wondered. Well, when he was fighting with the rock ninjas, he was accidentally affected by the explosive tag. Then Mikoto began to explain to Akira Uchiha what happened on the battlefield after he fell asleep. Although Mikoto heard a lot of things from others, at least she knew more than Akira Uchiha. Chin, did you know? Yesterday, Demigod released the news that Orochimaru-sensei, Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-san are Wood Leaf Sannin. Mikoto's face was a little excited. Akira Uchiha nodded. This was expected. But looking at Mikoto's bright eyes, he suddenly felt something was wrong. After Demigod, the Sand Village also released the news that you are Wood Leaf's Reiko. They also said that you only used Reiko to defeat the Ichibi. Ha! Hearing Mikoto's words, Akira Uchiha's whole body was not good. Wood Leaf's Reiko is this kind of ghost? Can't it be more vulgar? Mikoto's introduction continued. Now a lot of people are talking about you, saying that you are Wood Leaf's hero, and that your strength is enough to be compared with Wood Leaf Sannin. Wait, what did you say? Akira Uchiha felt more and more wrong. He finally understood. No wonder Sakura Shinobu didn't care about his face, and spared no effort to flatter him. A 10-year-old kid, no matter how strong he is now, he can't be the opponent of Orochimaru. And Kirin's ninjutsu, the requirements to use it are more stringent, and it can't be regarded as Akira Uchiha's regular combat power. So compared to the Sannin, this is definitely a flattery. How will people react when they hear this news? They will certainly test whether he is qualified or not, and the major villages will continue to assassinate him. After all, on the battlefield, the young ninjas with all kinds of geniuses, without exception, are the priority target of the enemy country. Rumors really kill people. The guy who said that he is strong must have no good intentions. You know, a ninja like Watergate in the future, who can use the name of Golden Flash to deter the ninja world, has real strength. No matter how others boast about it, it doesn't matter. If you encounter Golden Flash, it will be regarded as a mission failure and retreat. This sentence can explain the deterrence of Watergate. But Watergate can't guarantee that he can retreat in every battle. With Uchiha Chen's current strength, it's even more impossible for him to carry such a big name. Besides, the ninja world is very deep. Akira Uchiha's current strength is at most an elite jonin. And a jonin is still easy to kill. What if he meets Kakuzu who likes money? What if he accidentally gets hit by dust release? What if Shikako holds a grudge against him? Therefore, Akira Uchiha is now very worried about his safety. However, this rumor can't be blamed on others. Yesterday, in front of so many ninjas, he used Kirin to beat Shikaku. That kind of scene, many people only saw it in their life, and it's hard for them to forget him, okay? So for them, Wood Leaf's lightning is not a bluff. Chapter 158. At the insistence of Mikoto, Akira Uchiha stayed in the ward for another day before leaving. Rope Tree had to continue to live here alone. But looking at his appearance, he was very happy. After all, there were medical ladies serving him meals and changing his bandages every day. This made Rope Tree both happy and miserable. At this time, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and the ninja brigade finally returned to Wood Leaf Station. Even Hatsuki Shigeru, who went out to resist the Yambi Manchuriki, returned smoothly with injuries. At this point, the 2-year-long war in the Land of Rain finally won a comprehensive victory. However, after the war, the people's lives in this country may not be better. Endless trauma and continuous turmoil would become the main theme of this place. But this has nothing to do with Wood Leaf. This is something that Hanzo has to consider. Wood Leaf only needs the Land of Rain to surrender. When he walked out of the ward, it was noon outside, and the rain was still very abundant as before. Looking around, the station is now full of celebration, and there are crowds of people. Countless people are packing things and talking happily. At this time, the tragedy of the war is also clearly displayed in front of Akira Uchiha's eyes. The landscape was destroyed on a large scale, and from time to time, he can see blood that has penetrated into the soil. And even days of rain can't wash it clean. Fortunately, the bodies of the enemy and the ninjas who died have been cleaned up. Otherwise, Akira Uchiha will definitely see a lot of more miserable scenes. The station is full of people, and many things have been packed up, and then put in seal scrolls, and finally brought back to Wood Leaf. Overnight, it seems that everyone knows Akira Uchiha. When those ninjas saw him, they all showed respect and fanaticism. This has nothing to do with age, it is only related to strength. Wood Leaf's lightning, the boy who defeated the tailed beast with lightning, he is a hero that even Sakura Shinobu is in awe of. After walking around, Akira Uchiha couldn't stand the fanaticism, so he went to look for Watergate. Suddenly, a ninja wearing a fox mask blocked Akira Uchiha's path. Tsunade-sama is looking for you. Okay, I'll go now. Akira Uchiha nodded and walked towards the central tent. After opening the tent, Tsunade was sitting inside at the moment, frowning as she looked at some documents. Teacher, are you looking for me? Akira Uchiha asked. Alright, take a seat first. I have something to tell you after I'm done with this. After Tsunade heard Akira Uchiha's voice, he first looked up at him, then immediately lowered his head to work again. A hardworking Tsunade was a very rare phenomenon. If it was a few years later, even if he became Naruto, Tsunade would never show this kind of enthusiasm. However, Tsunade can't help it because several commanders are now missing. Orochimaru is now squatting in his underground laboratory, sorting out his things. He has been here for 2 years and has a complete underground laboratory. There are all kinds of important experiments in it, and it is very troublesome to sort them out. Hyuga Akira and Shigeru are seriously injured and lying in the hospital. As for that bastard Jiraiya, Tsunade is angry when he thinks of him. Tsunade is also very helpless now. She also wants to be a shopkeeper and go to the major casinos in the Land of Rain to make a small fortune. But the statistics of the loss of personnel, the handling of the damage of materials, the next course of action, and the preparation of the ninja's departure, all of these need to be reviewed by her, the highest person in charge. After waiting for a long time, Tsunade finally finished the work at hand. Chun, is there any problem with your body? Thank you, Sensei, for your concern. I don't think it's a big deal. So while talking, he smiled at Tsunade. At the same time, Akira Uchiha stretched out an arm to show his muscles to show that he was fine. Well, not bad. After all, I personally, asked other ninjas to treat you. Akira Uchiha showed a look of contempt. You said it like it's true, but in the end, it has nothing to do with you. Tsunade showed an awkward expression and stiffly changed the topic. With Leaf Reiko, I haven't congratulated you yet. How does it feel to have your own title? Hearing this boring title, Akira Uchiha curled his lips. It's okay. It sounds cooler than with Leaf Sannin. But as a public figure, it's still very stressful. Alone in the lonely night, sometimes I can't sleep. After all, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. Hearing with Leaf Sannin, Tsunade showed a smile, but there was no smile in his eyes. Is that so? Everyone says that you and I are about the same strength. Why don't we go out and spar? Tsunade clenched his fist and asked. Sensei, don't joke around. Don't you know my strength? Akira Uchiha's face was bitter. It seemed that Tsunade really hated the title Would Leaf Sannin. I really didn't know your current strength. That day, I was able to see the lightning escape from a very far place. I was surprised whose ninjutsu it was. I didn't expect it to be yours. Tsunade stood up emotionally. Chun, you are now a ninja who can stand on your own. Tsunade paused, then looked into Akira Uchiha's eyes. I never thought that you were so talented in Reiko. The ninjutsu you developed before Chidori shocked me. I didn't expect you to be even more powerful. By the way, can you use this level of ninjutsu at will? Tsunade's expression was very serious. The more powerful the ninjutsu, the higher the price. Tsunade must determine the price of this ninjutsu. If it is too high, it must be listed as a forbidden technique. Facing Tsunade's question, Akira Uchiha explained the principle of Kirin. Tsunade pondered for a moment. So the condition to use it must be a thunderstorm? Yes, of course, it can also be man-made. It's too troublesome. Akira Uchiha nodded. Now the outside world is saying how strong I am, that I can defeat a tailed beast, but it's not that exaggerated. Is it really good to let this rumor continue to spread? This was what Akira Uchiha really wanted to say. In a few years, his strength may reach that level, but it's certainly not now. The problem is that a tall tree attracts the wind, and if it continues to spread like this, he will definitely be targeted by many forces. Well, in fact, this matter was ordered by Orochimaru. Tsunade explained. Why? Akira Uchiha wondered. After Sakura Shinobu spread the news that you are with Leaf's Reiko, I wanted to suppress this matter. After all, the other party has sinister intentions, and I don't want to follow their wishes. But Orochimaru opposed it. Not only did he not suppress it, but he also spread it back to the village. Now the whole village knows about your deeds. As for why Orochimaru did this, it's because he thinks highly of you. Tsunade looked at Akira Uchiha with a meaningful gaze. Okay. Akira Uchiha was stunned. After all, a ninja's reputation among the villagers was inseparable from the village's propaganda. As a member of the Uchiha clan, Akira Uchiha's higher-ups might forcibly suppress this matter. In short, your contributions cannot be erased, but your deeds will be handled in a low-key manner. This is the most common method used by the village. Now Orochimaru is directly using his own resources to help him build up his reputation. Although Akira Uchiha didn't know Orochimaru's intentions, he was still very touched. Just as Tsunade said, Orochimaru really thought highly of him as his disciple. Chapter 159. Anyway, you don't have to worry about your personal safety. You've made a great contribution, and you're Woodleaf's hero. The village won't let a hero shed blood and tears. Tsunade picked up the teacup beside him, and gestured for him to leave if there was nothing else. That's all you have to say? Can't you say something more practical? Akira Uchiha thought helplessly. Let's not talk about anything else. Just the forbidden sealing technique alone can give me a dozen. However, Akira Uchiha did not say that out loud in the end. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first, sensei, Akira Uchiha said weakly, turned around and walked towards the door. Hey, wait a minute. Akira Uchiha was stunned. Did Tsunade finally find his conscience and want to reward me? He looked at Tsunade with anticipation. Well, did you meet the 3 orphans in the Land of Rain? Tsunade ignored Akira Uchiha's burning gaze. Yes, I met them in the cave when Rope Tree and I were recuperating. Akira Uchiha was a little disappointed. We met them too, and they asked us about you. Tsunade continued with some annoyance. Later, Jiraiya pitied them and decided to stay and take care of them for a while. Akira Uchiha nodded. This was within his expectations. It seemed that Madara had chosen Jiraiya, the good old man, to be the 3 little ones' teacher. Fate. Alright, why are you telling me this? Well, before Jiraiya left, he was worried about his little disciple Watergate, so he asked you to take care of him. Tsunade smiled shyly. Okay. Akira Uchiha's mouth twitched. Jiraiya should have asked Tsunade to take care of her, but this big sister found it troublesome and threw it to him. The teachers these days were getting more and more irresponsible. Who would have thought that Orochimaru of the Sannin would be the most dedicated teacher of the year? However, Watergate was really unlucky at this time. In other words, his teammate had died, and his teacher had run away with a disciple from another country. Could it be worse than this? Only Kakashi could surpass him in the tragic competition. Akira Uchiha had a headache when he pushed open the tent. What should I tell Watergate? Watergate, don't be sad. Jiraiya left you behind, because he found his destiny's child. He will come back to see you in 3 years. As soon as this sentence is said, it is estimated that Minato may directly go dark and embark on the road of revenge against Konoha. Of course, at this time, Jiraiya might not realize that the price he paid was also very painful. From the way Tsunade mentioned him, it was obvious that she had some feelings for him. After all, they had been performing missions together for 2 years, and there was a life-and-death relationship. In addition, Jiraiya's performance was becoming more and more responsible. It was not particularly strange that the 20-year-old Tsunade was moved by Jiraiya. But when this feeling was about to escalate, Jiraiya decided to stay in the Land of Rain. What's more, he stayed there for 3 years. The originally hazy feelings could only slowly dissipate with time, and in a different place. Coupled with the death of the Rope Tree and Kato Duan, Tsunade, who was in the bud of youth, fell in love. When Jiraiya came back with joy, he found that his childhood sweetheart had run away with someone else. This was really a sad story. And the source of all this was because of a prophecy by the Toad Sage. Thus, superstitions were not good. Akira Uchiha thought about how to tell Watergate as he walked out of the noisy campsite. At this moment, the air and sound had suddenly changed. The temperature had dropped by almost a degree, and the surroundings were filled with the smell of water and new greenery. Although it was raining, all kinds of wild birds were chirping happily. This made Akira Uchiha's mood better. After passing through the mixed forest of metasequoia and oak, he saw Watergate sitting alone on a tree. When Akira Uchiha walked to his side, he sat down and watched Watergate practice the wind attribute chakra's transformation. You're here, Chun. Watergate raised his head and did not see Mikoto and the others. Yes, I'm here to see you. Akira Uchiha patted Watergate's shoulder. When are we returning to Woodleaf? Watergate asked. Soon, in the next few days. However, we have to escort all kinds of supplies here, and there are Chunin and Genin here. Sand Village is likely to launch a sneak attack. So now Tsunade, sensei is also having a headache. Akira Uchiha gloated. The most important thing for Woodleaf at present is to protect their own supplies, not continue to fight with the enemy. So it is necessary to avoid a large-scale battle with Sakura Shinobu as much as possible. Fortunately, if Sakura Shinobu wants to launch a sneak attack on Woodleaf's way back, it must be a long-distance raid, and it is impossible to send too many ninjas. But this is all Akira Uchiha's own guess. But even so, the two of them still analyzed the major events of the village. They seemed to be the incarnation of the masters of the village, and the village's leaders were useless idiots. If Sandaime Naruto was next to them, he would probably be furious and curse them. You can do it if you want. Well, if I had been a little more powerful, my two teammates might not have died. Watergate stared at the ground and finally mentioned this matter. Akira Uchiha noticed a trace of sadness in his voice. It seems that the death of his teammates made Watergate feel very guilty. Watergate, Akira Uchiha emphasized his tone. No one can do this. The so-called war must be accompanied by death, injury, and pain on both sides. But in fact, no one can accept the death of close companions. Maybe it's just self-righteous thinking that they will all be safe, right? Watergate fell into silence, apparently thinking about his words. Then in this war, so many people died. Why? Watergate hugged his knees helplessly. He was only a 10-year-old child, but too many people died here. Their pain made Watergate grow up. Ignorant and foolish children can only grow up after knowing the pain. So Watergate finally learned to use his own eyes to think about the world. However, in the endless propaganda, Konoha was on the side of justice, protecting the village and its companions, and for the sake of true peace. But the reality of the difference made Watergate confused. As far as he knew, the Fire Nation was the one who started the war. In other words, Woodleaf was the invader. At the same time, in the Land of Rain, too many innocent lives were slaughtered. Similarly, his companions also died here. This process brought about endless pain, and it went both ways. It was the same for both the enemy and the user. So Watergate began to wonder. Do we really represent justice? If the war was not for peace, then what was the point? Chapter 160. The water on the ground had reached his ankles. The sound of countless raindrops and ripples was like a mysterious murmur emerging from the surface of the water. 5 minutes passed, and Akira Uchiha neither moved nor spoke. He sat on the trunk and stared at the scenery blurred by the thick cumulus clouds. Next to him, Watergate sat there quietly waiting. He could feel his heart pounding. What will his friend think after listening to his thoughts? Watergate's previous wish was to become Naruto and protect all his companions, and it still hasn't changed. It's just that after experiencing the cruelty of death, he was full of doubts about this war. At this time, Watergate wanted to achieve peace in the entire shinobi world. After Watergate conveyed this meaning, his heavy heart began to be relieved. He spoke out all his doubts. In his opinion, Akira Uchiha is definitely his good teacher and friend. He can always find a way. Shun. After a while, Watergate broke the silence. Akira Uchiha slowly returned to reality from his thoughts. He turned around and looked at Watergate. Watergate. His tone was very serious. Your doubts are normal, and even most ninjas have doubts about this war. We fought thousands of miles away and invaded the Land of Rain. What is it for? Of course, the village is not for peace. It's just a synonym for hiding benefits. Akira Uchiha sighed. Over the years, the economic development of various countries has been unbalanced, and the power of the fighting sect has risen, so we must fight with other countries to protect the interests of our country. Otherwise, the country, the village, and the villagers will suffer. Akira Uchiha stared at Watergate's eyes. But after the war, the people will wither, and starving prisoners will be everywhere. After countless wars, only endless pain is left, so the shinobi world has become like this. In this process, none of us is innocent. Then you mean peace is impossible to achieve? Watergate frowned and asked. No, to achieve this goal, we have to face all kinds of problems. So for us, the first question will be, what is peace? Akira Uchiha continued. I can imagine that a ninja can give 1,000 answers. He looked at Watergate. So I want to hear your opinion. My opinion? Watergate couldn't help glancing at him. Then he thought about it and said, I think that one day, the era of people understanding each other will come, and then we can achieve peace. Shun shook his head. This was a typical Jiraiya answer, pinning his hopes on the self-awakening of human beings. He can understand this mentality, but he will not agree with this approach. Watergate, I can tell you the shinobi world is sick. Akira Uchiha strengthened his tone. Since it is sick, you don't want to cure it, but want it to heal itself. Do you think it is possible? Watergate was speechless, and he felt that what Shun said was right. Jiraiya Sensei's idea is too naive even for him. Shun continued. In fact, the first Hokage also saw this point, and he didn't hesitate to do so. In order to cure the disease of the shinobi world, he established one country, one village system, thus ending the chaos. But the end of the chaos didn't make the shinobi world better. Instead, the scale of the war became unprecedentedly huge, and more people died this time. So I think the first Naruto failed. Akira Uchiha's words shocked Watergate. What did you say? Watergate, think about it carefully, don't you think so? What was originally a war between families has become a war between countries. And the scope of the war is even larger. We have simply returned to the beginning. From a certain point of view, don't you think the first Naruto failed? At this time, Watergate's heart was set off a huge wave. From childhood to adulthood, all the propaganda he came into contact with was praising the first man who ended the chaos. He never thought that the first Naruto might have failed. But he, who has experienced this war, can't refute what Shun said. The first Naruto hoped for peace, but peace didn't really come. Shun Rope Tree Mikoto, Shinakushina, his friends, including himself, are all war orphans. The tragedy that happened in the past is still ongoing. Maybe in the future his child will also be an orphan. For a moment, there was silence. Akira Uchiha smiled at Watergate and said, You didn't expect me to say such a thing, did you? Watergate shook his head. In fact, what you said is very reasonable. Yes, because these are all real. We live in such a vortex, and by understanding the past, we can predict the future. The first and second shinobi wars have already happened, and the third, fourth, and even more wars will not stop. If the situation in the shinobi world continues to be like this, it will only get worse and worse. As long as the villages are still there, people will fall into disputes again, and then, the war will never end. Akira Uchiha looked up and stared at Watergate. Watergate didn't speak, but fell into deep thought. So, you think we should destroy the other villages? Not destroy, Akira Uchiha replied, but unite. The first Naruto united with other families and established a country, one village system, thus quelling the war in the Land of Fire. And we only need to unite with other villages, establish a new alliance, and re-establish the order of the shinobi world. Then we can have real peace. What do you think, Watergate? His words seemed to stay in the air for a long time. Akira Uchiha has been paying close attention to Watergate's expression during the whole process of his narration. Watergate is still a 10-year-old child, but his various emotional changes are still obvious. First, he was shocked, and the horror was beyond words. Finally, he slowly began to think. Watergate also realized that if this continues, the next war is only a matter of time. The fact that the first Naruto united with other families to end the chaos obviously touched his personal heart. But it's difficult. Watergate swallowed. This is much more difficult than the situation faced by the first Naruto-sama. Yes, the relationship between the villages is very delicate. It's like a house built with cards. The more adjustments we make, the more likely it is to accidentally make a mistake and cause the whole structure to collapse. Akira Uchiha nodded. Yes, during this period, there are all kinds of rebellious shinobi in small countries. Watergate added. These forces are lurking in the dark, watching the 5 major countries. So we need to break everything. Strength is the most important thing. On this basis, we need to break the status between the various villages and start all over again. Akira Uchiha said. In his view, the so-called peace after the 4th Shinobi World War is just a passing cloud, a superficial brotherhood. When the generation that experienced the war grows old, when the new shinobi Kami, Naruto and Sasuke pass away, the war between the 5 major countries will break out again sooner or later. Only fusion can avoid all this. Akira Uchiha looked up at Watergate. Watergate, in order to realize this wish, I need your help. Me. Watergate was a little uncertain. I'm too weak. I might not be able to provide much help. There's no such thing. With your talent, your future must be immeasurable. Akira Uchiha replied. In his view, if he wants to do this, he must need the help of the people around him. A person, no matter how strong, if he doesn't get support, he can only fail. After all, you can't rule the world alone. Madara is strong enough, but before leaving the village, he can't take the Uchiha clansmen with him. Of course, there's one more thing to remember. Before we have enough strength, we can only pretend to be simple-minded, try not to be a person who goes with the flow, and protect those who we can protect. Akira Uchiha said solemnly. Well, I understand. Watergate nodded. He also knows that this kind of thing must not be known to the village's higher-ups, unless they become Wood Leaf's higher-ups. Believe me, we will succeed. Akira Uchiha reached out and held Watergate's hand. Also, welcome to the first team. Chapter 161. At this time, in Wood Leaf's tent, a group of jonins wearing dark green vests were sitting around. They were discussing the safety of the troops returning to the village. After a few days of rest, they finally received the order from Wood Leaf to return to the village. After all, the Rain Country had already surrendered, and was willing to sign all sorts of unfair treaties with them. Yet you guys still brought a bunch of underlings and blocked the entrance. What was going on? I'm a demigod, don't I have face? So Hanzo issued a serious protest against the 3rd Naruto. At this time, Akira Uchiha was also staying in the tent and listening to all kinds of secrets. However, no one questioned why a Chunin was mixed in. After all, this kid's strength and achievements were there. If he wasn't a Jonin, he had to be signed by the 3rd Naruto himself. Now Akira Uchiha is the youngest Jonin in Wood Leaf's history. In addition, he was brought in by Orochimaru, so no one would take the initiative to look for trouble. However, Akira Uchiha felt very uncomfortable. After all, everyone else had a seat, and he was standing alone behind Orochimaru. So what was the saying? When he was 10 years old, he was standing like a minion in a meeting. However, no one cared about his thoughts, because everyone's attention was focused on Shigeru. Shigeru had recovered, and was sitting on a chair and saying something. The small objects in the camp have been almost cleaned up. The next thing is to count the remaining supplies such as food and weapons, and pack them into the truck. I have ordered a special ninja to do this, and the list will be sorted out and packed into the truck around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Next, we mainly want to study the security and reconnaissance of the escort team. Shigeru was thinking very far ahead in this regard. Now that the main force of the sand is still there, there is a possibility of another attack. Not to mention other things, Wood Leaf has just wiped out the main force of the rock ninjas, and their losses are great. With Shigeru's sense of smell, if the sand didn't do anything, he won't believe it. Shigeru continued to explain, because we have ordinary people escorting here, and there are also Chunin and Genin, we have to take precautions. Orochimaru nodded. I have already sent a communication signal to Sandame Hokage-sama. After we arrive at the border of the Land of Fire, a special Umbu ninja will come to escort the captives. That's good. So what we need to pay attention to is that when we cross the border of the Land of Rain, Sakura Shinobu is likely to cross the Land of Rain and ambush us. On the big map in the tent, Tsukumo used a pen to draw several circle points and the route to be taken. We will take this relatively stable and safe route. There will only be 3 points where it is easy to be ambushed. Therefore, Captain Jonin, you must pay attention to your safety during the transportation process. Shigeru glanced around the tent, and finally stopped at Akira Uchiha. A sense of uneasiness hit his heart. Sure enough, as he felt, Akira Uchiha was also assigned a task. His task is to ensure the safety of the transportation of supplies. Although later, Orochimaru repeatedly told him that the supplies in the team this time belong to the center of the team, and it is also the safest place for him to go. Even if the Sand Ninjas attack again, the first target is the captive Sakura Shinobu, and the wounded. They will never put the first target on these things. However, although Akira Uchiha looked as calm as an old dog, in fact, he was panicking. Because Orochimaru already said that this time, he will not perform the task with him. In other words, Orochimaru has completely treated him as a jonin. His first task is to escort the supplies of wood leaf. Anyone who faces this kind of thing will panic. After returning from the tent, Akira Uchiha walked towards Mikoto, Rope Tree and Watergate. Chin, what was said in the meeting? Rope Tree asked. The team is ready to go back to wood leaf. Our task is to ensure the safety of the supplies. Akira Uchiha explained while leading them to the gate of the camp. When Akira Uchiha's team arrived at the gate of the camp, the transportation team had already stepped out of the gate and was slowly moving forward. Because there are a lot of supplies and ordinary people that need to be carried, the speed of the whole team can't be fast, so they are basically walking. This is also the reason why Shigeru planned the configuration of the ninja team in detail. On the one hand, because the team is too long, and on the other hand, the journey is too time-consuming. It will take about 10 days to go back to Woodleaf. If it is only a team of ninjas, they can go at full speed and return to Woodleaf as soon as possible. There is no need to worry about these troublesome things. At this time, in Woodleaf Village, the victory over the Land of Rain and the Earth Country has already been reported from the front line. In the face of such good news, of course, the leaders of Woodleaf Village will not hide it. So in less than half a day, the news of Woodleaf Village's great victory has spread throughout the village. Hey Big Fox, do you know Woodleaf Village's troops are about to withdraw from Land of Rain? Shinakushina said happily to Kyubi. After a few months of getting along, the relationship between Kyubi and Shinakushina has more or less stabilized. At least on the surface, they are getting along quite well. The reason is very simple. Kyubi has been tricking Shinakushina to open the seal, and Shinakushina needs Kyubi to talk to her. A bunch of mobs. If it were me, I would have used a Baijidama to end the war. Let me tell you, if you open the seal, I will help you end the war, and you will be able to see your little lover sooner. Don't you think so? Kyubi wagged his tail. Even without your help, we can still win. Now everyone is saying that Shun is Woodleaf's hero. I think there is another title called, right, Woodleaf's Lace. Shinakushina finally remembered this awkward title. Kyubi was speechless. He has made a great contribution, so he should be promoted to Jonin soon. Little Fox smiled happily. He is a Jonin and I am a Genin. He should be able to bring me along on missions, right? Shinakushina began to fall into her own fantasy. Kyubi grinned. If that is the case, where do you think your Tsunade-sensei is? None of your business. Shinakushina shouted, and then suddenly opened her eyes. Chapter 162. After several days of marching, the entire team finally arrived at the border of the Land of Rain. The excitement has basically faded from the hearts of Woodleaf shinobi, leaving behind calmness on the battlefield. They are only happy because the war that has lasted for many years is finally over, but their cautiousness as ninjas will not change. In terms of reconnaissance, because of the unique advantage of the Hyuga shinobi, several of them were sent out by Hyuga Amaterasu to explore the safety of the road ahead. At the same time, there are also various ninja hawks patrolling the sky. It can be said that in front of such a team that combines reconnaissance and combat power, only the Sand Shinobi would choose to launch an ambush on such an occasion. Akira Uchiha, who discovered this, also slowly relaxed. While slowly following the team, he taught Watergate and Mikoto various ninjutsu. After all, Orochimaru has completely handed over the first team to him, so he has the responsibility to improve the strength of his teammates. Rope Tree, who is a little master of seeking death, also didn't want to be left out. He stood alone on the top of the carriage, looking into the distance. In a while, we will enter the land of fire, Rope Tree said excitedly. He could clearly see Orochimaru and Tsunade at the front of the team. Very good, Rope Tree. Keep this position. You stand so high, so conspicuous, you can fully attract Sakura Shinobu's attention. Akira Uchiha took out a kunai and gestured in the air. Rope Tree touched his neck and immediately jumped down from the carriage. Soon, the long dragon-like team completely crossed the border of the land of rain. The whole sky was like a faucet being turned on, and the rain suddenly disappeared without a trace. This is the environment that people should live in. Akira Uchiha narrowed his eyes and felt the hot sun. For several months in the land of rain, he felt as if he was moldy, and his whole body was wet. But then again, the weather in the ninja world is really strange. The land of rain is raining all year round, but the land of wind doesn't rain all year round. If they set up a south to north water transfer project here, they should have a lot of money and prospects. Akira Uchiha's thoughts began to wander again. Soon, the team crossed the slightly flat road and began to walk along the man-made long sloping stone path towards the top of the canyon. As a result, the team, which was already slow to begin with, became even slower under the burden of the slope. Pay attention to the security around us, Akira Uchiha reminded the three people beside him. In this kind of uphill place, people's vision was obstructed. In addition, there was a convoy of food and supplies on their side, so it was necessary to pay more attention to safety. It wasn't just Akira Uchiha's team that was on high alert. Most of Wood Leaf's teams were the same. What's the situation? Tsunade was far inferior to Orochimaru in terms of investigation. Now that she saw Orochimaru suddenly stop, her years of experience as a teammate told her that Orochimaru must have found something. Just a few traps made by little insects. Orochimaru grinned. After finishing the hand seals, he squatted down and pressed his palms on the ground. A dull sound immediately came from the underground stone path, and it didn't take long for it to return to silence. Tell the team behind that there is no problem. And by the way, let the ninjas help the civilians in the transport team, so that they can move a little faster. Orochimaru didn't guarantee that there wouldn't be a battle. However, the meaning behind his words was obvious. He had already fallen into a trap set by the Sand Village. There is no guarantee that there won't be any trouble next. Uncle, I'll help you. The ordinary team in front was a little better, but Akira Uchiha was responsible for guarding the supply team. So the speed of the whole team was basically slowed down. Thank you. The black-faced uncle was embarrassed and stepped aside for Akira Uchiha to facilitate his help. Ninjas have chakra bonus, so their strength is much greater than ordinary people. As the transport vehicle was pushed up little by little, the overall speed of the team increased, and they crossed the long ramp. Although the next road was a little bumpy, it was a lot smoother. But at the same time, there seemed to be something at the end of the field of vision. There seems to be some people in the distance. Tsunade stared for a while, but after all, her vision was only at the level of an ordinary ninja, so she couldn't see the small dots in the distance. After less than 2 minutes, the information of the Hyuga ninjas in the front line was passed back. The result was that it wasn't ninjas from the Land of Wind, but a dilapidated village with a group of civilians begging for food. Well, I remember this village. 2 years ago, when we came here, I didn't expect it to still exist. Tsunade turned her head and said, well, let's keep going. Orochimaru ordered to the rear of the team. After about 10 minutes, the small dots at the end of the field of vision finally became visible figures. Because of the impact of the war, the village looked very dilapidated, as if the whole village was full of refugees. Their clothes were ragged, their expressions were sad, and the children's dry faces were covered with dust, looking very pitiful. Ninja-sama. An old man who looked like the village chief knelt in front of Orochimaru. Please give us some food. Orochimaru stopped but didn't speak, just quietly looked at the people in front of him. The whole team began to stir. After all, these civilians looked really pitiful. After a while, A ninja finally couldn't stand it anymore. He was ready to call the ninja behind him to get some food from the food transport team and distribute it to these ordinary people. I don't understand. What kind of courage can make you appear in front of me in this posture? Orochimaru's eyes were very sharp. After saying this, he stabbed a kunai into the heart of the old man in front of him with lightning speed. Then in the next moment, the ordinary people who should have died suddenly turned into smoke and dissipated. In the next second, countless kunai shot towards Woodleaf's troops as if they didn't care about their lives. Chapter 163. Looking at the densely packed kunai, Woodleaf's troops were already prepared, and they immediately formed an earth wall. Orochimaru's body flashed. He crossed the high wall and rushed towards the enemy, while his hands quickly formed hand seals. Earth release, rock spear. When the rock turned into a spear and drilled out of the ground, the Sand Village's puppets also jumped out of the hidden ground. Not only Orochimaru's front team, but also the center, the rear, and Woodleaf's rear team were attacked by different numbers of Sakura Shinobu. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. Akira Uchiha jumped up. Dozens of head-sized fireballs spun like meteors and hit the Sand Village's ninjas. Boom, boom, boom. The fireballs exploded among the Sand Village's ninjas, and a group of fire waves exploded among the crowd. Behind Akira Uchiha, Watergate and Rope Tree also jumped up and rushed towards the Sand Village's ninjas. Similarly, after a brief moment of panic, the other ninjas of Konoha shouted and rushed towards the enemy. For a moment, the scene seemed to stop. Woodleaf's ninjas and Sand Village's ninjas were separated by a small open space, and they rushed towards each other in a neat formation. Akira Uchiha held a kunai and collided with the Sand Village's captain. He waved the kunai in his hands, and the Sand Village's captain also waved the kunai in his hands. For a moment, sparks flew between the two. A Sand Village's ninja jumped up, grabbed the kunai with both hands, and wanted to stab Akira Uchiha from behind. Akira Uchiha glanced at the ninja, and Genjutsu immediately invaded the ninja's body. That person stood there in a daze. Akira Uchiha saw a gap, turned over and kicked the Sand Village's captain. Bang! The Sand Village's captain crossed his arms in front of his chest, blocked the kick, and then stepped back a few steps. After forcing the ninja back, Akira Uchiha jumped up and slashed Sakura Shinobu's neck. This age, this strength. Are you Woodleaf's Reiko? The ninja whispered, not caring about the death of his subordinates. You're lucky. In our Sakura Shinobu village, if you encounter Woodleaf's Reiko, you can immediately give up the mission without pen. What, there is such a thing? Akira Uchiha, isn't this the treatment of Watergate? There is such a good thing? Why didn't you say so? Akira Uchiha was a little excited. The ninja, and ninja, he's ninja. Yes, there is such a thing. All Sakura Shinobu must immediately give up the mission, and then kill Woodleaf's Reiko at all costs. The ninja sneered with a cold tone. Yes, that kid over there is Woodleaf's Reiko. Akira Uchiha was a little embarrassed, raised his hand and pointed to the Rope Tree who was fighting bravely. Huh. The Sakura Shinobu captain was also surprised. Then a snap echoed in the air, and the Sakura Shinobu captain's eyes became a little dull. Fire release, Fireball Jutsu. A big fireball with a diameter of 2 meters was shot in front of Akira Uchiha, and it burned the Sand Village's captain diagonally. But before he could see the result of his ninjutsu, a ninja in the sky with a sword in both hands slashed at Akira Uchiha. He had no choice but to block the ninja's katana. Then he turned around and kicked the ninja who had sneakily attacked him. After dealing with this ninja, without waiting for him to take a breath, more than 10 kunai shot at Akira Uchiha from the sky. Shadow Snake Hand. 6 pythons came out of Akira Uchiha's sleeves and rotated into a shield in front of him. The kunai nailed the pythons, but it didn't penetrate. The python's skin was very elastic, and it bounced the kunai away. As soon as Akira Uchiha landed, the chakra under his feet suddenly burst out and rushed toward the Rope Tree like a streamer. Sakura Shinobu ninja, you're too honest. Akira Uchiha scolded. He saw a piece of gravel suddenly rise in the sky. Earth Release Stone. A fist-sized stone like a bullet hit the rope tree, who was fighting with the enemy on the other side. Rope Tree's opponent saw the Sand Village captain's attack from the corner of his eyes and jumped up, pulling away from him. At the same time, 2 kunai were shot at the Rope Tree to attract the opponent's attention. And at this time, Rope Tree was facing the Sand Village captain, so he didn't see the opponent's attack. Water Release, Water Wall. Just as the stone hit the Rope Tree, a layer of water appeared behind him, blocking all the stones that were shot from all sides. Akira Uchiha passed the Rope Tree like lightning, and split the ninja fighting him in half. "I'll deal with him," Akira Uchiha said to the Rope Tree. "Well, I can't be careless. Thank you." Rope Tree didn't notice Akira Uchiha's abnormality at all. His eyes were only moved. He was touched that the other side could take care of his safety on this battlefield. After Rope Tree left, Akira Uchiha frowned and looked around. "We must hurry up and kill him. If this goes on, we will fall into a disadvantage." Such an intense battle seems to be not good for Konoha's genin. Chapter 164. Akira Uchiha, who had made up his mind to finish off his opponent quickly, moved in an instant. Under the stimulation of lightning release, he rushed to the front of the Sunagakure captain at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the kunai in his hand fiercely slashed at his opponent. Sakura Shinobu village captain, who could have easily dodged this attack, was suddenly in a trance. He was also shocked. From the beginning of the battle, he had been guarding against the opponent's Sharingan, but he didn't expect that he still fell into the illusion. By the time he broke the illusion, Akira Uchiha's kunai had already cut his neck. He hurriedly blocked in front of his body with his kunai. Sparks flew everywhere, and in an instant his whole body was suppressed. Akira Uchiha used the collision of the kunai as a fulcrum, turned 360 degrees in the air, and swept his foot at Sakura Shinobu village captain. Sakura Shinobu village captain quickly retreated, dodging Akira Uchiha's attack. But the fierce foot hit the ground, and a huge pit of half a meter deep suddenly appeared. And with this as the center, cracks began to spread around. "If I'm hit by this kick, I'm afraid I'll be half crippled even if I don't die." Sakura Shinobu village captain's face unconsciously dripped cold sweat. Sakura Shinobu village captain was no stranger to this scene. After all, he had seen countless ninjas from the same village being trampled into meat buns by Tsunade's soul-chasing kick. Thinking of this, Sakura Shinobu village captain took 2 steps back again, distancing himself from Akira Uchiha. After all, the opponent's taijutsu has surpassed his. It wasn't obvious just now, but as the battle went on, Akira Uchiha village captain had basically figured out his attack method. Seeing his opponent retreating, Akira Uchiha village captain was like a dogskin plaster, and once again approached him. Sakura Shinobu village captain had to quickly make hand seals with both hands. Earth Release, Foam Stone Technique. On the empty ground, fist-sized rocks suddenly appeared. Those stones were like cannonballs, shooting straight towards Akira Uchiha. Extraordinary strength fist. Uchiha-chan waved his fist and smashed the stones flying towards him, shattering them one after another. Akira Uchiha broke through the ninjutsu and rushed in front of Captain Sakura Shinobu. The illusion instantly entangled the other party, and the shimmering kunai directly cut through the other party's waist. However, Captain Sakura Shinobu, who had been cut in half by Akira Uchiha, turned into mud and fell to the ground. Earth Clone? Akira Uchiha stopped and searched for the other party's location. Before he could find it, 2 whirling winds bypassed the falling rocks and slashed at him from behind. Akira Uchiha raised his kunai and prepared to block the wind blade with the kunai in his hand. However, the wind blade was compressed to the extreme, so how could it be bounced off by the kunai? After a slight resistance, the kunai was cut open. However, because of this, the wind blade that was originally aimed at Akira Uchiha's chest was abruptly changed direction. At the same time, Akira Uchiha jumped, and his body brushed past the other wind blade. However, the 2 wind blades only turned a circle and flew towards Akira Uchiha again. At the same time, 2 more wind blades flew from the dark. A total of 4 wind blades shot towards Akira Uchiha. Obviously, Captain Sakura Shinobu knew that his taijutsu was no match for Akira Uchiha. So he hid in the dark and controlled the wind to protect himself as much as possible, while also doing his best to attack others. In front of White, you have nowhere to hide. Akira Uchiha shook his head, then stepped out, and suddenly rushed forward. The 4 wind blades followed closely behind, sharply rotating, leaving 4 cuts on the ground, and once again shot towards Akira Uchiha. Just as the wind blades were about to catch up with him, Akira Uchiha suddenly turned around, jumped down, and directly rushed towards the wind blades. Akira Uchiha, whose Sharingan had observed the trajectory of the wind blades in advance, held his head with one hand, and then in a very special posture, spun and passed through the middle of the 4 wind blades. As he fell, a ball of lightning formed in his left hand, and the blood-red Sharingan Magatama spun faster and faster. Then in the process of falling, he stepped on the falling stones and changed direction again. Chidori. Boom. Accompanied by Akira Uchiha's loud shout, the boulder to his right shattered under Chidori's attack. Captain Sakura Shinobu, who was hiding in it, was also shocked. The moment the boulder shattered, he swung his kunai at Akira Uchiha. At the same time, 4 wind blades attacked Akira Uchiha from behind. Chidori Ryu. In an instant, Akira Uchiha's whole body was covered with blue chakra electricity. The wind blades were all bounced back in an instant. Immediately, the strong electric current followed the kunai and paralyzed Sakura Shinobu's body. Then, the Chidori Ryu instantly dissipated and gathered in Akira Uchiha's right hand. At the same time, his right hand suddenly stretched out a 5-meter-long white light, and then he quickly raised his arm. As he waved his arm, the white light slashed at Sakura Shinobu, who was paralyzed in mid-air. Chidori's Sharp Spear. This move was a variation of Chidori's Sharp Spear. At the cost of weakening the attack power, the attack range extended to 5 meters. However, the weakening was only compared to Chidori's full power. If Chidori's Sharp Spear cut the body, with the power of this technique, there was no doubt that the body would be cut in half. However, a Jounin was a Jounin after all. Even in a paralyzed state, he could still forcibly twist his body. Akira Uchiha's fatal blow only cut off half of his arm. Sakura Shinobu, who had his arm cut off, was also out of the range of Raitun. Akira Uchiha could no longer inject Raitun into him. Sakura Shinobu, who had escaped, although his body was still numb, he had recovered his mobility. He realized that he could no longer fight after losing an arm, so after landing, he quickly ran away. You think you can run away? Akira Uchiha sneered. A black kunai appeared in his hand, and then it roared and shot directly at his opponent's head like a cannonball. After shooting a huge hole, the kunai's speed did not decrease, and it finally stopped after stabbing several Sakura Shinobu. Chapter 165. Senior brother, Captain was killed. Senior brother, Captain was killed. The death of Captain Sakura Shinobu caused some commotion among the enemies who attacked the supplies. However, it soon sank like a stone into the sea. On the battlefield, anyone can die, and everyone can only turn their anger into strength. Of course, it's more likely to turn their anger into running away. After all, even the captain is dead. What else do you want? And Akira Uchiha, the initiator, didn't pay attention to all this at this time. He has rushed to the enemy's flank. At this time, no one can stop him from killing. Akira Uchiha ran, and then his right hand hooked in the ninja bag beside his leg, and several shurikens were held in his hand. He didn't even stop running, and he didn't use any strength in his hand, and the cutting power under the speed bonus instantly and accurately cut the necks of several unlucky enemy ninjas. And the wood leaf ninjas who were fighting with him didn't even notice, and they saw the enemy softly fall down. Did I awaken a super strong Kekkei Genkai? A genin looked at his hand in shock. It seems that there are a lot of talents in the ninja world. Not only were there preachers, rappers, transvestites, and now there was an abstract ideologue. Akira Uchiha didn't pay attention to the other side. In this kind of chaotic battle, you must not stay in the same place, you must keep moving. In his previous life, Akira Uchiha also fought in a group fight, and he understood this principle. So after he killed his opponent, he didn't even stop, and rushed straight to the other enemies. This is a very strong Sakura Shinobu. From the first impression, he is a ninja who is good at strength. The other side didn't pay attention to Akira Uchiha's performance at all. After noticing that the Chunin kid was rushing towards him, he showed a cruel smile. Then the long sword in his hand fiercely slashed at Akira Uchiha. Akira Uchiha slightly changed his direction to avoid the enemy's long sword, and then raised his right hand to block the enemy's attack. Clang! The enemy's long sword suddenly stagnated. Taking advantage of this time, Akira Uchiha slightly curled his left hand's middle finger, and then quickly flicked the back of the long sword. Sakura Shinobu's face was full of horror, because he couldn't hold the long sword. Akira Uchiha held the back of the long sword with his left hand, and then the long sword was easily taken away by him. Sakura Shinobu, seeing this situation, he turned around and retreated. But a ninja with this kind of strength, ninja, who is good at strength. After all, in the entire ninja world, how many people can be as strong and fast as Raikage? Obviously, this sand ninja wasn't an all-rounder, he was just an average ninja, and speed was indeed his weakness. When fighting against Uchiha, speed became Uchiha's domain. As Akira Uchiha raised his arm, the long sword in his hand fiercely slashed at Sakura Shinobu's chest. Blood flowed freely from the man's chest and mouth. Akira Uchiha pulled out the long sword, and formed a chidori in his right hand. Immediately, Akira Uchiha's genjutsu attacked, and without any effort the genjutsu penetrated Sakura Shinobu's chest. Then he used his arm to push against the enemy's corpse and quickly rushed forward a distance of about 10 meters. His body shrank behind the enemy's body, and the shurikens and kunai flying on the battlefield didn't cause any damage to him. Relying on the dynamic vision of the Sharingan, Akira Uchiha quickly chose the second target. The lightning escape gave him the ability to dash forward, and the second enemy was pierced through by the 1,000 birds before they could react. Akira Uchiha was like a bulldozer, penetrating 3 ninjas in a row on the battlefield. After his companions were attacked one after another, the 4th enemy finally reacted. The long sword in his hand didn't care about his companions, and directly penetrated their bodies and stabbed Akira Uchiha behind them. Akira Uchiha quickly squatted down, and at the same time, the long sword in his hand also penetrated the corpse. The 2 long swords collided with each other in the corpse, making a muffled sound. Chidori sharp spear. The lightning release shot along the 2 long swords directly to Sakura Shinobu. The enemy made a muffled groan. Puff puff puff. At this time, 3 soft sounds were suddenly heard. 3 kunai hit the 3 corpses that Akira Uchiha used as shields. This time, Akira Uchiha didn't turn a blind eye to the kunai's attack, but immediately withdrew his hand and then moved away. After all, the smell of gunpowder and the flash of smoke was no joke. Sure enough, on the rings behind these kunai, there was an explosive talisman tied to a thin string. If he was hit by this thing, even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. It seems that Sakura Shinobu didn't care about the corpses of his companions, just to kill him. This is a war between ninjas. Boom! After a loud noise, a rain of blood sprinkled around Akira Uchiha, sticking to his clothes, but he didn't care. Akira Uchiha's body was thrown away by the explosion, and when he drew a small arc in the air, 3 Sakura Shinobu rushed at him at the same time. Wind release, True Void Jade. Akira Uchiha spat out several high-pressure wind balls to attack the enemy, and at the same time, because of the wind release, his body quickly floated farther away, avoiding the enemy's ninjutsu. The 3 Sakura Shinobu who tried to attack him just jumped up, and were directly hit by the True Void Jade in the air. Akira Uchiha, who defeated the enemy, pulled out several shurikens from his arms and legs. Although the explosive tag didn't cause any substantial damage to him, it sent him flying in the air, and when in the air, shurikens are very difficult to dodge. Akira Uchiha looked around. At this time, some of the troublesome ninjas have been dealt with by him, so he was ready to leave here. After all, Watergate and the others weren't inexperienced rookies, whether in terms of cooperation or ninjutsu. They were much better than other ninjas of the same level. Those troublesome ninjas were dealt with, and the rest were enough to hone them. At this time, at the back of the army, Shigeru was protecting Woodleaf's wounded, and at the same time, he was entangled with several elite ninjas. I'm going over there to support Shigeru-sama. Akira Uchiha shouted and quickly left. Chapter 166. With Akira Uchiha's speed, the distance of 100 meters was covered in a blink of an eye. In fact, from the first time he came here, Sakumo, who didn't relax his grasp of the battle situation, had already noticed him. Since he could come here, it means that the Sand Jonin who was responsible for the transportation of supplies has been dealt with. Although Shigeru was mentally prepared in advance, he was still surprised. After all, when he was at Akira Uchiha's age, he couldn't do such a thing. He thought that he was already a genius, but now there was an even more monstrous character. And when Shigeru came back, he also heard that Akira Uchiha defeated Shikaku. Did this kid start training when he was still a fertilized egg? Shigeru couldn't help but think. However, Akira Uchiha coming to support them is always a good thing. After all, many of the wounded here have lost their ability to fight, and are in urgent need of protection. Shigeru, who valued his companions very much, also had a good impression of Akira Uchiha. So Shigeru directly said, "Leave the main battle to me. You are responsible for the release of Genjutsu and the safety of the wounded." Okay. Akira Uchiha nodded. Shigeru's strength is much higher than his. Even if he doesn't come, Shigeru has the ability to quickly deal with the several Jonins in front of him, and then support the other battles. Now that the other side asked him to hide in the back and play support, Akira Uchiha was very happy. Support is a profession with a lot of potential. Every time there is a group battle, he can hide in the back and secretly control the situation. Not only is there no danger to his life, but he can also experience the pleasure of being an old fox. After giving the order, Hatsuki Shigeru rushed towards the enemy like the wind. Seeing White Fang rushing out, the sand ninjas who were standing on the outside once again felt a chill down their spine, and the other elite ninjas quickly started to form hand seals. Akira Uchiha reacted quickly and cast a genjutsu, interrupting one of the ninjas who was forming hand seals the fastest. Shigeru was once again engaged in battle with the two elite Jonins. The chakra on his white-toothed dagger was overflowing in the air like a white shimmer. Another genjutsu was thrown out, and using sound as a medium, it quickly drilled into the brain of the Jonin closest to Shigeru. Just as he was about to raise his hand to attack Hatsuki Shigeru, he discovered something strange. He couldn't move his body. Was he hit by the golden binding illusion? He wasn't the first to recognize Akira Uchiha's genjutsu as golden binding illusion, but it didn't make any difference. Because in the next moment, Hatsuki Shigeru waved his white-toothed dagger, and sent his head flying high into the sky. At the same time, Hatsuki Shigeru also lowered his body and accelerated his speed towards another Jonin not far away. Seeing his teammate get killed without any reaction, he was also shocked. Although he didn't want to give up, he began to feel afraid. When he was about to use a ninjutsu to delay Hatsuki Shigeru's attack, he found that his hand stopped and the hand seals were also interrupted. It was always shockingly similar. Another huge head soared into the sky. A Jonin wanted to kill Akira Uchiha. But when he looked at Shun, his eyes met with the blood-red Tomo, and his body began to tremble. A cold feeling filled Sakura Shinobu's body and mind. Puchi. Just as he was immersed in the genjutsu, Shigeru's kunai pierced his chest, and blood immediately gushed out. After killing him, Shigeru's arm smashed Sakura Shinobu's chest and sent him flying. The remaining Sakura Shinobu were shocked. Although they were suppressed by White Fang just now, both sides couldn't do anything to each other for the time being. But now that Chunin came, the situation was reversed. Shigeru was like a god of death, killing a Jonin in an instant. This is too terrifying. And the one who caused all of this was Chunin. And the one who killed their Shikaku was also Woodleaf's Chunin. Since when did Woodleaf's Chunin grow to the point where everyone's face would change? This is too shinobi. So those elite Jonin stopped, and began to consider the problem of running away. After all, in front of this combination, they could only wait for death. Reinforcements, be careful. Akira Uchiha's dynamic vision can capture the surrounding situation faster than White Tooth, so when several Sakura shinobu rushed to the edge of the battle, Akira Uchiha loudly reminded Shigeru to be careful of the situation over there. It seems that the enemy is afraid. Of course, killing people so efficiently, anyone who sees it will be afraid. After all, these are real jonins, not high-level cannon fodder, the highest combat power of a village. Even Sandaime-sama, who is known as the strongest Kazekage, can't do it so cleanly, like an eagle catching a chicken, instantly killing so many jonins. But now this kind of impossible thing happened. It's like in a team battle, Akira Uchiha can use genjutsu every second, while Shigeru is the assassin with high speed and high damage. If Flying Ape Nichiren was here, he would definitely sigh, this kind of feeling. It's like a different version of the Flying Thunder Gods / reappeared in the ninja world. So now Sakura Shinobu is very afraid. This caused the number of jonins around them to increase, but in fact, most of them were still restrained by Orochi and Tsunade. Shigeru, who was at full speed, was already in the mood to kill. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the middle of another Sand Jonin who was under the control of Genjutsu and used lightning release to take away his life in an instant. At the same time, he continued to rush towards the newly arrived Sand Shinobis. His white fang with lightning release directly cut off one of the Sakura Shinobu's arms, and at the same time, hit the Genjutsu puppeteer, and then changed the angle of his attack and cut it horizontally. Half of the Sakura Shinobu's head was directly cut off by Shigeru, so he didn't even have time to scream and died directly. In a few minutes, even if the Sakura Shinobu was prepared, he still couldn't resist the combination of Akira Uchiha and Hatsuki Shigeru. The combination of Woodleaf and Raiga finally showed their fangs in front of the world for the first time. This made Chiyo, who was commanding Sakura Shinobu, gloomy. She stared at the figure crazily hunting Sakura Shinobu, and her eyes were about to spit fire. But Shigeru didn't care at all. If eyes could kill, he would have already used it. He was now immersed in this feeling and couldn't extricate himself. He was comfortable at any angle, and he didn't have to worry about the various ninjutsu of the enemy. This has never happened before. This kind of posture, this kind of pleasure, sweet and elegant, it was like finding his first love. That's right, Shigeru has fallen in love with the feeling of killing jonin like killing vegetables. Chapter 167. Such a sneak attack that both sides were prepared for was bound to result in a lose-lose situation. A total of more than 300 Sand Shinobis were defeated by Woodleaf Shinobis within an hour. It seems that Woodleaf Shinobis won a great victory, but behind this glorious victory, countless lives and blood and tears were lost. Orochimaru and Tsunade were also talking at the front of the team. How is the loss of Woodleaf Shinobis? Tsunade was sorting out the things in her hands and turned to Orochimaru, who was in charge of counting the casualties. We lost a total of 25 jonins, including the elite jonins, and about 150 chunin and genin. Tsunade shook her head after listening. Every time she saw the death of her subordinates, she felt very sad. Sometimes she really wanted to run to the entrance of the Sand Village and scold the 3 generations of Kazekage. But this crazy idea just flashed in her mind and she gave up. After all, if she was detained by others, then she would lose a lot of face. Don't shake your head. Orochimaru looked at Tsunade, who was shaking her head. If we want to win, we have to take such risks. Death is also something that can't be avoided. In my opinion, this battle is very cost-effective for us. If we experience a few more sneak attacks like this, then the Sand Village won't have the strength to continue fighting. At this time, Orochimaru was completely immersed in his identity as a strategist. Regardless of whether Tsunade was annoyed or not, he began to analyze the benefits of this battle. Tsunade certainly understood these things. After all, her ancestors were also rich. Although some families are now in decline, they have received a lot of basic education. At least it's not comparable to a country bumpkin like Orochimaru. But Tsunade was still full of disgust for war and death, and she didn't like to use this kind of value to measure victory. So when Orochimaru started to preach again, "Sorry, please shut up." So Tsunade stopped him very impolitely. Orochimaru was a little excited. She knew that what Orochimaru just said was right, but it didn't mean anything to her. Orochimaru shut up a little bitterly. He wanted to express his opinion, but no one would listen to him. He felt aggrieved. Everyone wants to show off in their field of expertise, but now he was ruthlessly interrupted by Tsunade, to be honest, a little hurt. Speaking of which, why didn't he feel this way before? By the way, that's because the idiot Jiraiya was also there at that time. There were many things that Jiraiya didn't understand. Therefore, every time Orochimaru could personally explain it, and at the same time, despise the other party, thus satisfying his vanity. Now Jiraiya wasn't here, but Tsunade despised him for being talkative. So Orochimaru was a little lonely now, and he even unconsciously missed Jiraiya. I wonder if he's doing well in the land of rain? Is he as empty, lonely, and cold as Orochimaru? Tsunade also knew that it wasn't good to interrupt Orochimaru like this, so she continued to give him a chance to speak. This way, on the one hand, she could comfort Orochimaru's shattered self-esteem. On the other hand, she could also shut Orochimaru's mouth in her field of expertise. There are still more than 10 medical ninjas. The treatment process can be completed in half an hour. Orochimaru curled his lips. But there are only so many people. Tsunade hesitated. If I suggest to the Sandaime-sama that he train more medical ninjas, it would be best if each team could have one. Do you think he'll agree to it? Why do you have such an idea? Orochimaru was surprised. Unless there's something wrong with his brain, he won't agree. What do you mean? Tsunade was stunned and looked at Orochimaru with an extremely dangerous look. Now is the time of war, whether it's medical ninjas or ninjas, there are not enough. There's no time for you to train them, let alone one per team. Orochimaru shook his head. I know it's difficult, but the return rate of doing so is also very high. After all, it can improve the survival rate of a team. You know, according to the statistics of our medical department, many ninjas died because they were injured and didn't get treatment in time. Tsunade analyzed. Now, if there is a medical ninja in a team who can save teammates in time, the team's endurance and survivability will be greatly improved. For example, our team, how many times did you and Jiraiya survive without me? It can be said that if you two put me on a pedestal, I can do it. So a medical ninja in a team is very important. The more Tsunade thought about it, the more she felt that her proposal was good. Orochimaru was sweating when he heard it. How can it be the same? Tsunade is a tough woman. In terms of physical strength, she is the most powerful of the three. Can ordinary medical ninjas compare with her? And Orochimaru's idea can't be changed for a while. After all, medical ninjas are so precious. How can they be put on the battlefield? For these two plans, Orochimaru couldn't say for a while which one was better. In the traditional plan, the team is full of ninjas with combat ability, but as Tsunade said, there is a lack of medical ninjas. After a battle, who won't be injured? Without timely treatment, they will die quickly. Tsunade's proposal is to replace one of the ninjas with a medical ninja. But this configuration also means that there will be an extra burden in the team. The medical ninja will definitely be the priority target of the enemy. At the same time, it will weaken their own combat ability. However, when Orochimaru saw Tsunade's fist almost poking his face, he held back and didn't continue to provoke her. Your proposal is okay. Orochimaru replied ambiguously. Is that so? Tsunade didn't understand Orochimaru's meaning. Then why don't you go back to Woodleaf and mention it at the Jounin meeting, to test the water first? Why me? Orochimaru squeezed out this sentence after a long time. If everyone opposes it, then where will I put my face? Tsunade said matter-of-factly. You want face but I don't? Tsunade shut her mouth a little bitterly. It wasn't easy for her to come up with a system. Although she thought of it when she was squatting, it was still a big proposal. Orochimaru actually didn't agree with her. To be honest, she was a little hurt. Speaking of which, why didn't this happen before? Right, that's because Jiraiya, that idiot, was also there at that time. Although Jiraiya wasn't very reliable, as long as Tsunade needed something, he would immediately do it without hesitation. Now Jiraiya wasn't there. Orochimaru didn't test the water for her. Therefore, Tsunade was a little bored now, and even unconsciously missed Jiraiya. She didn't know if he was as lazy and bored as she was in the land of rain. Although Orochimaru wasn't willing to help her, Tsunade had other candidates. It wasn't easy to find a three-legged toad, but it wasn't hard to find a three-legged jounin. She now had a package of plans in her mind, and the proposed reform of the medical system was just one of them. For example, she could ask the village to take out some money and let Tsunade go to the Wind Country's casino to win money, impose sanctions on the Wind Country's economy, and win this war. At the thought of this, Tsunade smiled proudly. Chapter 168. At this time, Akira Uchiha, who was at the back of the team, suddenly shivered. He felt like he was being watched by someone. He carefully recalled that other than offending the Ichibi and the Yanbi, he didn't seem to have offended anyone else. He couldn't figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. At this moment, a ninja eagle was hovering in the sky, and it was constantly chirping. Team rest for an hour? This was the order from the ninja eagle. In this case, Akira Uchiha was not in a hurry to check the damage. He waved his hand and asked Mikoto, who was approaching, to sit down and rest. After Mikoto came over, she took out a handkerchief and began to wipe the black marks on his face. "Chun, do you want to go find a medical ninja to treat your injuries?" Shigeru glanced at Akira Uchiha and knew that this guy was definitely injured. Not to mention other things, his breathing was slightly faster than usual. If it was a ninja, such a situation wouldn't happen unless the ninja's organs were displaced. It seemed that the battle just now had caused a lot of damage to Akira Uchiha. Shigeru now had a good impression of this kid. He had never met a ninja who cooperated with him so well, so he was very concerned about his injuries. "I'll pass. The medical ninja is really busy. I'll go when there are fewer people." Akira Uchiha shook his head. "Then I'll have to trouble you, Shigeru-sama." Mikoto stood up, bowed to Shigeru, and pulled Akira Uchiha to the medical ninja's place. "Tsk tisk." Looking at the two in a hurry, Shigeru looked at them with interest for a while. He admired this kid's skills in picking up girls, are really good. Should I also find a girlfriend? Shigeru suddenly had such a thought in his mind. It would be best if I could have a daughter. Shigeru's thoughts wandered further and further, and he began to consider his daughter's boyfriend. Akira Uchiha was led by Mikoto towards the medical ninja. He still didn't know that under his influence, Kakashi was likely to become Kakashi in the future. However, the thought of a white-haired female ninja who wore a black mask all day long and revealed dead fish eyes really made people excited. At this time, Mikoto pulled Akira Uchiha forward. "I heard from a friend that her captain was injured. However, that team leader had neglected the issue of healing, leaving behind a hidden danger. Later in the next battle, his injuries flared up and he accidentally died. I'm telling you to take care of your body." Mikoto stared at Akira Uchiha. All right. Akira Uchiha raised his hands in surrender. Woodleaf's medical ninjas were gathered near an open space at this time, and the personnel in charge of logistics had already set up a tent to treat the wounded. As Akira Uchiha said, there are a lot of ninjas who need treatment now. After all, he wasn't seriously injured, so he could only line up honestly. He didn't dare to bother the medical master, violent jutsu student, for such a small matter. As a result, when he and Mikoto were in line, they saw Watergate and Rope Tree coming out of the tent. Both of them looked miserable. Watergate's hand bones were wrapped in dense bandages because he didn't use enough force when using ninjutsu. Rope Tree's wound was healed by Woodleaf's medical ninja. In order to prevent the wound from bursting open again, the medical ninja also mixed a lot of thin bandages on his body. Are you okay?" Akira Uchiha asked. "It's just a flesh wound, at least the internal organs and bones are not damaged." Watergate smiled. And then because of the pain of pulling the wound, he grimaced. "Shun, Watergate and I killed a Sand Village's Jonin." Rope Tree also grimaced in pain and showed off. "I just heard from Mikoto." Akira Uchiha said helplessly. "Don't talk about it, I feel pain for your wound." An hour later, Konoha's shinobi team continued to move forward. Akira Uchiha and Shigeru's position still didn't change. Shigeru was still at the end of the team, and Shun was still at the rear of the team next to the food transport truck. "Hey, Ninja Bro," the uncle who was driving the carriage greeted Akira Uchiha. "Do you want to let a few injured members get on the carriage to rest? Consider it as a gift for helping me push the carriage." "That's good, thank you, uncle." Akira Uchiha nodded, and then said to Watergate and the others, "You guys go and rest. But the guard work." Rope Tree hesitated. "I'll take care of the guard work. You guys rest in the carriage." "Okay." Rope Tree nodded and did not continue to say anything. He turned over and boarded the transport vehicle that had been vacated. "Watergate, you go. I'll pass." Watergate smiled and shook his head. "I found that when walking on this kind of rocky road, I can also practice my chakra control with my feet. For example, when using chakra, I can control the vibration from the soles of my feet to the extent that I can walk with ease. The fine control of chakra is very high." "It makes sense." Akira Uchiha glanced at him. "But do you usually use your feet to release ninjutsu?" "Ahaha. You don't know this, but Jiraiya Sensei did teach me how to release ninjutsu with my feet." Watergate smiled proudly. Akira Uchiha patted Watergate's shoulder. "Okay, but be careful. This kind of fine control consumes a lot of chakra. If chakra is gone, I won't carry you on the carriage." "Ahahaha. Don't be like this. We've been friends for many years." Watergate laughed. A few days of peace passed quickly. Without Sakura Shinobu causing trouble, Woodleaf's team didn't speed up. The main reason is that there are a lot of ordinary people in the team. Even if it's just a normal walk, ordinary people can't last for a few days and nights, so basically every 2 days, the team will stop to rest. However, Akira Uchiha has some doubts. Woodleaf's support team hasn't appeared yet. These people won't get lost, right? Just when Akira Uchiha was puzzled, an Umbu ninja appeared in front of him. "Akira Uchiha, Orochimaru. Sama is looking for you." "Time?" Akira Uchiha nodded and then asked. The advantage of communicating with Umbu ninjas is that there is no need for small talk and nonsense. If you have something to say, they won't pay attention to you. Immediately, the Umbu ninja spat out these 2 words. "Understood." Chapter 169. "Chun, have you recovered from your injuries?" When Akira Uchiha just arrived here, Orochimaru asked him such a question. "I have fully recovered." Akira Uchiha hesitated and said. Whenever Orochimaru asks about his physical condition, it can't be just because he cares about his body. In fact, the meaning of this sentence is, "Can you start the mission again?" After being cheated several times before, Akira Uchiha also understood Orochimaru's routine. It seems that this guy wants to use the unspoken rules again. So Akira Uchiha is also very hesitant. His injury is not serious, and he has completely recovered. Moreover, Tsunade is watching him like a tiger watching its prey. He can't lie even if he wants to. When Orochimaru heard Akira Uchiha's reply, he looked very satisfied. He nodded and said, "That's good, now I have a new mission for you." "Mission? Sensei, are you joking?" At this moment, Akira Uchiha looked at Orochimaru in front of him with a very shocked expression. "I'm just teasing you." Unfortunately, Orochimaru can't say such a thing. He is not in the mood to tease his beloved disciple. Akira Uchiha sighed. He really can't understand what mission he has to do now. He is already so close to Woodleaf. Does he have to go back to the land of rain to find Jiraiya? Akira Uchiha felt a little sad. However, for the mission given by the commander, the general ninja has no room to refuse. If it is peacetime, the ninja may have some room to choose, but during wartime, the commander's orders are absolute and unquestionable. For example, if Orochimaru ordered Akira Uchiha to sneak into the sand village to assassinate the 3 generations of Kazekage, even if he knows that the success rate of the mission is 0, he will still go. If Akira Uchiha doesn't want to leave Woodleaf behind, so there is no possibility of refusing this matter. Akira Uchiha was a little depressed. "Sensei, what is our mission?" He immediately asked this question. "Our war with Sakura Shinobu may last for a long time. But according to my previous investigation, The sand-hidden village has a large amount of materials of unknown origin. Orochimaru took out a document. There is evidence that these materials were sold by the Fire Country. Now there are two situations. The first is that the Fire Country's Chamber of Commerce secretly contacted the Wind Country's ninjas and secretly sold their food to them at a high price. The second is that they sold it with the support of the daimyo. Orochimaru handed the package to Akira Uchiha. I need you to investigate this matter. The whole tent was quiet for a while. Orochimaru waited for Akira Uchiha to digest the whole thing. People who hear about this for the first time will be very shocked, and Akira Uchiha is no exception. Therefore, this is also the reason why Orochimaru delayed the investigation for so long. This kind of thing, shouldn't you let Naruto negotiate with the daimyo? Akira Uchiha squeezed out this sentence for a long time. Orochimaru pondered for a moment and continued, I've thought about it before. But you don't know the personality of Sandame Naruto. For this matter, Sandame Naruto has nothing to do with the Fire Country's daimyo. And this kind of scandal, the daimyo will never admit it. At most, he will promise to give Wood Leaf more materials to support our war. But in this way, while the war is indefinitely delayed, we should consider the death and damage of Wood Leaf's ninjas. Akira Uchiha nodded. Orochimaru's words are indeed very reasonable. Flying Ape Nichiren's indecisive character is there. By the time he finishes the investigation, the Third War may have already begun. So this will only delay the whole war. Speaking of which, the current Orochimaru is really a good young man who loves Wood Leaf. He knew that Sandame-sama's negotiation with the daimyo was just a superficial job. Without conclusive evidence, Sandame-sama had no way to pressure the daimyo. In the end, the best result was that Sandame-sama got some materials to appease the daimyo. Sandame Naruto can't do it, but it doesn't mean that ninjas can't. There are some things that Naruto can't do, but ninjas can. So Orochimaru decided to take the initiative to solve this problem for Wood Leaf. What's the level of the task? Akira Uchiha no longer hesitated, and decided to complete this task seriously. You haven't been to the daimyo, so be careful. But considering that the daimyo's Chamber of Commerce may have ninjas as enemies, for the time being, it's a B-level task. If there is an unexpected situation, it should be that the Sand Village sent a relatively high-level ninja there to protect their employer. Orochimaru spoke out his guess. Akira Uchiha nodded. What about the time of the task? According to the usual B-level task time, it will be 15 days. If there is any unexpected situation, use white or other methods to inform me. In terms of the task, I will give you a confidential task, except for me and Tsunade no one will see it. Orochimaru said in a hoarse voice. Okay, then I will go first, Orochimaru-sensei. Akira Uchiha nodded and prepared to gather his friends. It was a B-rank mission after all. It was difficult to say that it was because of its uncertainties. Not to mention the daimyo behind the scenes. The Chamber of Commerce may also ask Sakura Shinobu's ninja to protect them under the premise of a transaction. In this way, the difficulty of this task may rise, and it is not impossible to raise it to A level. If there is a jonin involved in a task, as long as the other party's strength is not too bad, the task is basically A level. As the mainstay of a ninja village, jonin has such a deterrent unconditionally. But it doesn't matter. Akira Uchiha just wants to finish it quickly and return to Wood Leaf. After all, half an hour ago he was still missing the life in Wood Leaf, but now he received a task from Orochimaru. This made him deeply feel the malice from this plane. Chapter 170. Land of Fire, Daming House. Generally speaking, this place is the safest place in the entire world of Naruto. Whether it's peacetime or wartime, its safety factor is far higher than several villages in the 5 major countries. So in a sense, if you transmigrated here, and wanted to live a safe life, then congratulations, the Great Name Mansion welcomes you. In fact, it's true. Wood Leaf is the leader of the 5 major villages. With such a strong strength, he was defeated 3 times. Kyuubi Rebellion, Orochimaru's collapse plan, Pain's invasion, there will always be one that you can't escape. Not to mention the sand village, the environment is too bad to live in. The fourth generation of Kazekage likes to test his son's tolerance, so Shikaku often goes berserk. In addition, Dini also came to do air raids. The danger index here is 4 stars. If you live in the lightning hidden village, then congratulations. You can often watch for free there, a 2-meter tall strong man and a big octopus fight. It's terrible to think about. As for the mist village, it's the village of blood mist. If you live there, you will become a monster sooner or later. The mist village can be said to be the most dangerous place in the 5 major countries. The rock village is not so dangerous, but the environment there is also terrible, like a corner of the mountain. No transmigrator can stand that kind of place. So in general, if you want to live comfortably and safely, Daming House is really your first choice. However, Daming House is safe, but it's also the place where the master of the Land of Fire, Daming House, lives. There are various nobles here, and the feudal system is also practiced. If you are not careful, you may be caught by these celestial dragons as a slave. Due to the complexity of this place, Orochimaru wanted to deal with this matter personally, but later gave up. The reason is very simple, because Orochimaru's identity is special. It's not suitable for him to appear here, including Tsunade and Hatsuki Shigeru. They are not suitable. To some extent, their every move can represent Woodleaf's meaning. Therefore, the task of stirring up trouble was left to a nobody like Akira Uchiha, who had the strength to do it. Although the name Woodleaf Rakeage is famous enough in the shinobi world, most people don't know what Woodleaf Rakeage is. At this time, in a certain dense forest, there was a very thick tree. From the outside, this tree looked no different from its surroundings except for the fact that it had lived for a very long time. But in reality, the tree was hollow. This was a very secretive stronghold. At this moment, 3 Woodleaf ninjas were staying inside. It was now the 3rd day since Akira Uchiha and his companions had arrived at the Daming Prefecture city. After he got the confidential mission letter from Orochimaru, he took Watergate, Mikoto, and Rope Tree to separate from Woodleaf's team, and went to the capital of the Land of Fire. Because Rope Tree had been to the capital of the Land of Fire a long time ago, although he can't remember the specific route, he can still remember the general direction. In addition, Orochimaru also very considerately put a detailed map of the forest of the Land of Fire, in which the nearest route to the capital of the Land of Fire has been marked, for fear that Akira Uchiha would get lost in the arms of the Mother Forest. Therefore, the speed of these people was very fast. The mobility of a ninja is sometimes really scary. While the 3 of them were talking, the camouflage outside the tree hole was lifted, and the 4th ninja came in. It was Watergate. Another food truck is heading in the direction of the Land of Wind. Watergate came in from the tree hole, and then carefully re-camouflaged the entrance of the tree hole. After doing this, he said. As he spoke, he waved the gray hair in his hand, which he had caught on his way back. The gray rabbit is very fat. Maybe these people's next meal can be improved. The interior space of this tree hole is spacious, and the location is very hidden. After being discovered by these people, it became one of the active strongholds. Some of the supplies of Akira Uchiha's team, food, medicine, ninja tools, and so on, after completing a reconnaissance, they will return to such a place to rest. There are several such strongholds in their reconnaissance area. In order to prevent all the supplies after being exposed, these things are stored in batches. At this time, there is a fire in the tree hole, and the smoke is very light after special treatment, floating through the gaps of the tree hole into the forest. Unless someone is very close to here, it is impossible for them to be discovered. And if someone can really get close to that distance, with the peripheral security alarm arrangement of Akira Uchiha's team, or Big White's perception ability, they can find the enemy. So they feel quite relaxed. After all, this is just a B-level mission. However, Akira Uchiha sighed slightly in his heart. Too naive, a B-level mission with Rope Tree. Will it be a simple B-level mission? But he didn't say this after all. It would hurt Rope Tree's self-esteem too much. Check your equipment, turn off the fire, and then we will set off immediately. After Akira Uchiha emphasized various precautions again, the 4 people quickly destroyed the food in front of them, and then began to check their equipment and ninja tools. They have been investigating here for several days, and they have some understanding of the situation here. And now they can start to act. After a little disguise, Akira Uchiha took Watergate and left this stronghold and set off for Daimyo Prefecture. Even a rookie ninja can use ninjutsu like transformation jutsu. As long as the fabricated identity is not too strange, there is basically no possibility of being exposed. At this time, the capital of the Land of Fire still looks very prosperous. It seems that the war has not affected here. With Rope Tree's memory of visiting the capital of the Land of Fire, they finally found a good hotel. The mission that they have been preparing for several days is about to start. Chapter 171. Under the lead of Rope Tree, they found a decent hotel and stayed there. After all, several days of investigation made them a little tired. After Akira Uchiha told Watergate and the others to have a good rest, he sneaked out alone. Of course, he didn't sneak out because he wanted to go out alone. As the successor of Naruto, Akira Uchiha has always performed well in ideological education. But if it was Sannin who came to perform the mission, it would be hard to say. As the trio of prostitution, gambling and drugs, the first thing Jiraiya did was probably to go straight to a red light district to inquire about information. If it was Tsunade, he would have already investigated several casinos by now. As for Orochimaru, he said that child trafficking was more attractive to him. Therefore, it is really difficult to find a captain like Uchiha-chan who has a serious and responsible attitude and is willing to search for information. However, Akira Uchiha said that he didn't want to do that. Although this mission was only B-level difficulty, because of the lack of information, it involved a wide range of people, so he could only investigate by himself. As for his three teammates, they may be very powerful in the future, but now, they were still weak. After going out, Akira Uchiha found that there were very few pedestrians at night. However, this was also inseparable from the ongoing war. So after waiting for a long time, he found a pedestrian in a hurry. After easily controlling the other party with illusion, Akira Uchiha easily asked the address of a large chamber of commerce in the capital from the other party. During the investigation, he had already determined the logo of a chamber of commerce, so other large chambers of commerce must know this chamber of commerce. This was Akira Uchiha's plan. After Akira Uchiha dispelled the illusion, the pedestrian continued to hurry forward as if nothing had happened. It was already very late, and he still had to rush home to sleep. In the current capital, an ordinary person like him might appear to be very wealthy to the people outside, but it was undeniable that in this city, he belonged to the class that was being ruled and exploited. After the man left, Akira Uchiha walked out from the dark corner. Since he knew the detailed address, he was confident that he could get more information from the person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce. Instead of jumping from roof to roof, Akira Uchiha followed the most basic stealth of a ninja. Basically, he walked in the dark alleys of the capital. The specific route was already told to him by the pedestrian when he was controlled by the genjutsu. Therefore, in a very short period of time, he had already approached this Chamber of Commerce. By the time they arrived at the Chamber of Commerce, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. At this time when ordinary businesses were closed for the day, this Chamber of Commerce was still brightly lit. It was very simple to sneak in from the third floor with an open window. Because the lights were on, sneaking in such a wooden building lost its effect. Akira Uchiha opened the door directly from the inside. Anyway, under the effect of Big White's infrared perception, a large range of people's movements couldn't escape his perception. Soon, he completed a complete inspection of the third floor of the attic, but he didn't find the existence of a living person, not even a little bit of useful information. Are they all downstairs? With this thought, he quickly went down to the second floor. Sure enough, as he expected, in the deepest part of the second floor, there were sounds of people moving. And in the corridor, there were a lot of samurai and wandering ninjas as guards. After Akira Uchiha appeared, the guards gathered like a tide and quickly surrounded him. There were a lot of people, but they were all ordinary people with relatively strong bodies. There were also many ninjas mixed in, but their strength was not very good. These ninjas, they don't have the protection of a ninja village or a ninja clan. They basically accept tasks in the underground market with their own strength, or accept employment from ordinary people to earn commissions to support themselves. Because they have not received orthodox ninja training and teaching, as ninja qualifications are not high, they can't come into contact with high-level ninjutsu. Their strength is generally either poor or extremely poor. Of course, for ordinary people, their strength can be said to be very powerful, even more powerful than most samurai. But in the face of a ninja from a regular village, it is completely not enough, not to mention the existence of Akira Uchiha's strength. Therefore, Akira Uchiha only used a genjutsu to easily put these people down. After putting all the people down, Akira Uchiha also swaggered to the door, then easily broke in, and directly used genjutsu to directly control the 3 presidents of the Chamber of Commerce sitting at the table. That's why Sharingan is really useful. Although Akira Uchiha said that he has 100 torture methods, but the efficiency will be much worse. And because of the Sharingan genjutsu, they are basically in a state of obedience to Akira Uchiha's orders. After getting the information he needed, Akira Uchiha suddenly felt a little tricky. Fortunately, he came to investigate in advance. If he directly carried out the task, he may suffer a lot. He didn't expect that this matter would involve the 12 Guardian Ninja. The 12 Guardian Ninja are the 12 elite ninjas responsible for protecting the daimyo of the Land of Fire. They are the private independent troops of the daimyo. This was already a very powerful force. He is not afraid of a few people, but if the 12 of them come together, Akira Uchiha will not be their opponent. Akira Uchiha was ready to leave, but he didn't mean to kill these 3 people. If he killed them all, it will be discovered tomorrow, which will have a great impact on the task. And when they wake up, they will forget what just happened. Akira Uchiha quickly left the Chamber of Commerce through the window. He went at full speed. It only took him a minute to return to the place where he lived. You're back? It's almost 12 o'clock now. Watergate, who hasn't slept yet, saw Akira Uchiha come back and said hello. Not only that, even Rope Tree didn't sleep. They were waiting for him to come back. Akira Uchiha, who jumped from the window, nodded and looked at them strangely. Didn't I tell you to have a good rest today? Why did you stay up so late? How can the captain go out to perform the task? The team members lie in the room sleeping. Rope Tree rolled his eyes. Hey Rope Tree, what's with your eyes? How old am I? The person who went to the red light district. Akira Uchiha was speechless. I just went out to gather the necessary information. Akira Uchiha quickly explained. If Rope Tree accidentally said something in front of Mikoto tomorrow, Akira Uchiha wouldn't have an easy time. Did you find anything? Watergate quickly asked. I did find something. I will tell you the details of the task tomorrow. Akira Uchiha nodded. Then let's talk about it tomorrow. Hearing Akira Uchiha say this, Watergate also laid down on the bed. But Rope Tree was still sighing. It was obvious that he couldn't forget the big sister from Famous House. This made Akira Uchiha a little confused. Wasn't Rope Tree only 7 years old the last time he came? At that time, he was already so mature and steady in this aspect. Chapter 172. Early the next morning, Akira Uchiha woke up from his bed. However, even though he had woken up, he was still lying on the soft bed. After getting used to the life of a caveman for the past few months, Akira Uchiha said that he could continue to lie there like a corpse for another day. However, his behavior deeply provoked the little son Watergate. As someone who had seen the daimyo at 4 o'clock in the morning, Watergate felt very ashamed. He started to get up so early to train, but the gap between him and his friend was getting bigger and bigger. He just wanted to say that the world of geniuses was really not something that ordinary people like us could understand. However, Watergate could now see that this mission should not be too dangerous, otherwise, the other party would have already gotten up to investigate. After waking up, Akira Uchiha was still in bed, but he couldn't fall asleep. Speaking of which, he didn't seem to see the figure of the other person. Click, I'm back. Everyone was here. Rope Tree walked into the room excitedly. Rope Tree, where did you go? Akira Uchiha raised his head. I went to investigate. Rope Tree said shamelessly. Oh, then what's in your pocket? Akira Uchiha sat up and then signaled Watergate with his eyes. Watergate stood up with a smile and approached Rope Tree. Okay, you're not allowed to tell anyone. Rope Tree sneakily took out a few books from his pocket. This is the new work of the most virtuous and skilled jounin in the country of Japan, Kara-sensei. Only the daimyo sells it. Rope Tree proudly shook the little book. I went to line up at 4 o'clock. It seemed that Rope Tree's effort was comparable to Watergate's. After all, he was also a man who had seen the daimyo at 4 o'clock in the morning. Akira Uchiha said that he also wanted to improve his knowledge. Thus, he quickly took out a book and put it into his scroll. By the way, did you discover anything special? Something special. Well, when I came back, I noticed that the number of guards on the street had increased quite a bit. Rope Tree said after some thought. Yes. Akira Uchiha nodded. He could make sure that the people who were affected by the illusion last night would not have any memories. However, when they woke up, they found themselves lying on the ground. No matter how stupid these people were, they knew that something had happened in their own chamber of commerce. They would definitely report it to the authorities. But it didn't matter. The famous prefecture was so big, it would be too exaggerated to find the 4 of them. Let's have breakfast first. I'll go get Mikoto. Akira Uchiha went out after washing up. After a while, breakfast was served. Since they were in the capital of the Fire Nation, the style and delicacy of the breakfast was not inferior to that of Woodleaf. In fact, it was even better. This delicious breakfast made them, who had lived in the harsh environment of the Land of Rain for a long time, feel as if they had come to heaven. Let me talk about the current situation. Akira Uchiha said after taking a sip of the porridge. The Chamber of Commerce that we found before, the one that transported food to the Wind Nation, I have found its name and address. But because it was too late last night, I came back first, Akira Uchiha said to the others. Our next task is to go to that Chamber of Commerce and determine if it is the target we are looking for. What if it's them? Watergate raised his head and asked. The Sand Hidden Village will come to receive the supplies. If we catch or kill them, our task will be over, Akira Uchiha said lightly. However, there is one more thing to pay attention to. Akira Uchiha stood up. In the deal, it involves the 12 guardian ninjas. 12 jonins, we're not their match. So after killing Sakura Shinobu, we will leave immediately. Yes, Captain. As Rope Tree said, the number of guards on the street has increased a lot. But the strength of these people is not even comparable to ninjas. Akira Uchiha and the others walked towards the Chamber of Commerce. Last night, Akira Uchiha not only asked for the address and name of the Chamber of Commerce, but also got the internal structure of the Chamber of Commerce. As for why the presidents of other chambers of commerce know the internal structure of this Chamber of Commerce, this should not be a simple business competition. As he understood, this Chamber of Commerce cooperates with the Wind Nation and earns a lot of benefits. It is impossible for others not to be jealous. Even if you have a strong background in the face of benefits, it is enough to make some people take risks. Not to mention the 12 guardian ninjas standing behind you. Even if you are a daimyo, they will dare to make a move. Therefore, these businessmen can't be underestimated these days. Their schemes are not worse than ninjas. During the day, there will not be many guards in the Chamber of Commerce. After all, the Chamber of Commerce has to open for business. Akira Uchiha easily sneaked into the second floor of the Chamber of Commerce. The innermost room on the second floor is not locked. Akira Uchiha easily walked in after letting Watergate and the others wait outside. In the luxuriously decorated room, a middle-aged man sat in the middle of the chair. Guest, what can I do for you? The middle-aged man looked at the kid in front of him cautiously. Akira Uchiha smiled and said, I do have something to talk to you about. He gently closed the door of the room, and when the middle-aged man was surprised, an illusion covered the middle-aged man's head. Some time ago, did you sell a lot of food to the Wind Nation? Seeing the middle-aged man enter a hypnotic state, Akira Uchiha asked very impolitely. In this state, as long as it is a memory that can be retained in the middle-aged man's brain, he can ask. This is much more convenient than with Leaf's intelligence personnel to search the brain. That kind of secret technique is very damaging to the brain. After being used once, even a genius can become a fool. Yes. The middle-aged man in the illusion hesitated for a moment and replied, "Is it the Chamber of Commerce's own idea, or the Sand Village's ninjas sneaked in to negotiate? Most of the Chamber of Commerce in the capital are involved, and the so-called Chamber of Commerce's idea must have been approved by the daimyo, otherwise, no one would dare to be so crazy." "No, it's not, it's Ryoma-sama who took the lead. Because of the importance of this matter, we wanted to hold a meeting to discuss it with the daimyo. But Ryoma-sama said, he has already obtained the daimyo's consent." "Who is Ryoma?" "One of the 12 guardian ninjas, he is the daimyo's most trusted guard." It seems that there are other secrets. Akira Uchiha is very doubtful about whether the daimyo really knows about this matter. Then when is the next negotiation? Akira Uchiha asked the last question. 3 days later. Sakura Shinobu will come for a second negotiation. The location is, Akira Uchiha nodded. After a snap of fingers, the middle-aged man fell asleep on the table. When the middle-aged man wakes up, he will only remember that he accidentally fell asleep because he was too tired. But it doesn't matter. Akira Uchiha has already obtained the information he needs. One is Ryoma-sama, one of the 12 guardian ninjas, and the other is the location and time of the negotiation. This kind of information was already enough for him. Chapter 173. You haven't carried out an A-rank mission yet, right? In the forest of the Fire Nation, Akira Uchiha asked Watergate. Little Sun was still a genin. Of course, he was not qualified to carry out an A-rank mission. After all, once the mission reached A-rank, it meant that the enemy would be at least a jonin or above. Jiraiya would not let his precious disciple carry out such a mission, unless there was something wrong with his brain. He was not Orochimaru, who wanted to kill his disciple. Then you should be prepared. This mission may be upgraded to an A-rank mission. Akira Uchiha gloated. Watergate nodded. Even if he was asked to deal with a jonin, he would not hesitate. Although the war brought death to ninjas, it also allowed them to grow at an abnormal speed. Less than a year ago, he was still a student of the Ninja Academy, but now he was a qualified killing machine. But even so, Watergate still felt that he had been cheated. Ever since he joined Shun's team, his peaceful life seemed to have drifted away from him. He was starting to wonder if he had been tricked by his good friend. Seeing Watergate frowning, Akira Uchiha thought that he was a little scared, so he patted Watergate's shoulder. Watergate, be excited. This is your first time. Don't suppress yourself. If you feel uncomfortable, just say it. At this time, Akira Uchiha and Watergate were squatting on a big tree near the forest's main road. On one hand, they were preparing to ambush Sakura Shinobu. On the other hand, it was convenient for them to monitor the movements in the capital. Although the 4 people in the team did not have any detection ability, Big White and the large number of snakes were of great help to Akira Uchiha. The snakes that were psychic were distributed in a wide range in the forest near the daimyo prefecture. Once there was any abnormal situation, the pythons would immediately send a message to Big White. Ambushing a team was not that easy. Although the intelligence said that Sakura Shinobu would arrive in 3 days, there was no specific time. They could only use this stupid method to wait for the enemy. After waiting for a long time, Watergate began to cherish the time, and took the time to practice ninjutsu. After all, the wind attribute chakra, whether in form or nature, it was not easy to complete. However, for Watergate, his foundation was very solid. What he lacked was a high-level ninjutsu with strong destructive power. Therefore, there was nothing more suitable than rolling meatballs. If there was one, he would roll 2. Naturally, Uchiha knew how to use this technique. There was a training method in the manga, so he could use it a long time ago. So next, he was prepared to lead Minato down the path of no return of making meatballs. In fact, when he was 6 years old, Akira Uchiha began to guide Watergate. At that time, when he developed the strange strength kunai, Watergate also followed him for a while, but in the end, because he could not control chakra accurately like him, he gave up. But this process still laid a good foundation for Watergate's helix theory of chakra transformation. Watergate can definitely use Rasengan earlier than in the original work. At this time, Big White, who wanted to be a quiet snake beauty, came out of Akira Uchiha's clothes and barked at him. "What's wrong?" Watergate stopped. "There are ninjas coming, get ready to fight." After saying that, Uchiha-chan leaped away from the tree he was originally staying on, and disappeared after a few leaps. Seeing his movements, two people jumped out from the other two trees and followed closely behind him. According to Big White's information, there were traces of ninjas at the front where the snakes were scattered, but the intensity was not strong, indicating that he could deal with the enemy's strength. This was also Akira Uchiha's confidence. If it was really an enemy he could not afford to offend, he would definitely take Watergate, Mikoto, and the rope tree and run away without hesitation. After all, he was now the commander. No matter what, his mind had to be clear. Having a good mind was especially important for a ninja captain, even more important than how strong he was. After all, every decision he made was responsible for the lives of 4 people, including himself. This was what the already dead Pomuro told him with her life. The 4 young ninjas moved quickly, and the sound they made while moving was almost undetectable. According to the direction given by Big White, the 4 moved in a line, with Akira Uchiha at the front, followed by Mikoto, then Watergate, and finally the rope tree. The snake's range of activity was really wide. Akira Uchiha and the others ran for almost 10 kilometers before they reached the place where the ninjas' traces were. After confirming that there were no enemies around, Akira Uchiha jumped down from the tree and found that there were indeed traces of fire on the ground, and there were also food scraps thrown to the side. It seemed like they had eaten lunch here. Akira Uchiha stretched out a finger and placed it in the fire. He could still feel a faint trace of heat. It seemed like the other party had just left. Immediately after, the rope tree also bent down to examine carefully. Under the sunlight, the rope tree's face was very clear. He saw his nose twitch, then sniff the food scraps and murmur, "It smells so good." This yearning tone made Akira Uchiha think that the rope tree looked like he was about to eat the food while it was still warm. There must be a female ninja in the enemy team. The rope tree made this judgment with a confident and calm tone. That determined expression made Akira Uchiha look askance. "Rope tree, don't tell me you're in love." Chapter 174. In fact, from a certain perspective, Rope Tree was right. There was indeed a unique aroma coming from the remains of the food, and it was different from the usual aroma. It seemed that Rope Tree was very sensitive to this smell. Otherwise, he wouldn't have discovered this information so quickly. Thus, Akira Uchiha decisively called out Dabai and asked him to ask the surrounding snakes about the whereabouts of this group of people. A few seconds later, Dabai told Akira Uchiha a direction. He also told him that the other party was a standard ninja team, but he didn't know their exact strength. "I'll go take a look. You guys." Akira Uchiha hesitated for a moment. He wanted to act alone. "Chun, we're a team now, so let's act together." Rope Tree spoke up at this moment. He didn't want to be protected by his companions all the time. Akira Uchiha then turned his gaze to Watergate and Mikoto. The two of them nodded at almost the same time. Akira Uchiha immediately agreed. That's right, he couldn't always take care of them like a nanny. Therefore, he simply gave up on his dilemma. Then he waved his hand and said directly, "Don't worry." "Alright, let's go." Stepping on a tree branch, Akira Uchiha leaped into the air and walked toward the direction Dabai had pointed out. After walking for a short while in the forest, Dabai's thermal sensing image appeared in his mind. A ninja team, led by the captain and 3 ninjas, is moving towards the direction of the Land of Fire, and their speed isn't very fast. It can only be said that they are moving at a normal speed. Akira Uchiha gestured with his hand, indicating for them to be careful. He wanted to use this opportunity to observe the other party's strength. However, before they could even take 2 steps, the other party had already stopped. Were we discovered? In the next second, an incomparably sharp wind blade sliced through the branches of a large tree and appeared in front of the 4 of them. Then, in the blink of an eye, it arrived before Akira Uchiha and the others. Then, before anyone could react, The ball of wind seemed to be expanding, spreading, and slicing apart. Wind escape. Sky refining jade. Furthermore, it was an area of effect attack, wind escape. Almost instinctively, the lightning release chakra gathered under Akira Uchiha's feet. His speed was also increased to the maximum in an instant. Then, like a thunderclap, it resounded through the entire forest. It seemed like there was also a scouting-type ninja in their team, and he was even more powerful than Dabai. This thought appeared in Akira Uchiha's mind, but his hands didn't slow down. He reached out to grab Mikoto and quickly lifted her up. Then, with a swift kick, he landed on Shinji's stomach. The rope tree had been complaining that he didn't have the chance to witness Akira Uchiha's taijutsu. Now the opportunity had come. At that moment, the soreness in his body made the rope tree climax. His body was thrown backward like a cannonball, and then he hit Watergate behind him in an instant, and then the two of them flew out together. Obviously, this kick was accurate and ruthless. It directly sent out a world wave, causing the rope tree to groan in pain. After this kick, as long as one wasn't deaf, one could clearly hear the scream. However, Akira Uchiha didn't even look at the two of them. He directly carried Mikoto and quickly retreated. The reason why he was carrying Mikoto was purely a subconscious action. Akira Uchiha repeatedly said this in his mind, trying to hypnotize himself. I kicked the rope tree to save him. My kick was actually very light. Did I kick the rope tree? Why did the rope tree fly out? Who did it? Someone was trying to hypnotize himself. Then the question was, should he hug the girl or should he hug the rope tree? Although the rope tree was closer to him at that time. In short, if God gave Akira Uchiha another chance to make up for his mistake, he still wouldn't hesitate to kick the girl. Otherwise, should he pick up the rope tree and then kick Mikoto away? That would be too beastly. In short, Watergate was very smart. Although he was also hit, he didn't directly touch the girl. When he fell back, he was able to react and adjust his body in time. Boom. After breaking away from the enemy's ninjutsu, wind release immediately erupted in front of them. The violent wind also broke the surrounding trees in half. After putting down Mikoto, Akira Uchiha also quickly pulled Mikoto behind a tree. While covering their body, they also observed the other party's dress. After all, in every country, even the formal ninja dress is different. Just like the ninjas of Sand Village, some people like to wrap themselves up like Arabians. Although they also have a special jonin vest, it seems that not many people wear it. The leader of the ninja was wearing a jonin vest. Judging from the other party's age, he looked like an uncle, and his skin was obviously tanned. He looked at least 30 years old, and his eyes were full of caution. The other ninjas were very young. The oldest one looked like she was only 20 years old, and the remaining two were girls in their teens. It's just that one of the girls instantly attracted Akira Uchiha's attention. The little devil was wearing purple clothes, wearing a Sakura Shinobu forehead protector, holding a kunai in his hand, cautiously looking forward, two orange bangs on his forehead fluttering in the wind. This person is? Chapter 175. Just as Akira Uchiha was staring at the girl, Watergate quickly supported Rope Tree and returned to his side. Shin, I think your kick was unnecessary. I could have avoided the attack myself. Rope Tree was a little dissatisfied. Of course he was dissatisfied. He was too dissatisfied. No one wanted to write, I, the grandson of the first Naruto, died because of my teammate's kick on their tombstone. I didn't touch you. You fell on your own. It has nothing to do with me. Akira Uchiha was still hypnotizing himself. He looked at Rope Tree as if he was looking at an old lady. He was so scared that his face turned pale. Rope Tree said in his heart, "Damn you. Can't you just be a good friend?" In fact, his chest didn't hurt that much anymore. Moreover, in that kind of crisis, he felt that he couldn't avoid such an attack. But Rope Tree knew that if he didn't act like this, he would lose face. The enemy's ninjutsu is really unusual. As expected of a jonin, he instantly sent Rope Tree flying. Akira Uchiha frowned and continued to speak. These words made Watergate look sideways. No wonder everyone is the same age, but Shun is already a chunin. It's not without reason. Look at what he said, it's too shameless. If it wasn't for the mark of a size 38 sandal on Rope Tree's abdomen, Watergate would have believed him. So Akira Uchiha's ability to lie through his teeth is also a kind of language art. Is this the virtue of a leader? Ha! You actually dodged my attack? The middle-aged man's voice interrupted their conversation. He narrowed his eyes and looked over. When he saw the external characteristics of Akira Uchiha and the others, he frowned again. Woodleaf's ninja? Just now, the scout ninja in the team perceived that the ninja was moving towards them. He had thought that the people following them were mercenaries from the great mansion. He didn't expect it to be Woodleaf's ninja. After all, Woodleaf was already pinned down on the battlefield. How could he have the time to come to the Great Ming Manor to take care of these small matters? This was bad. Did Woodleaf already know about the deal between the village and the Fire Nation? For a moment, Captain Sakura Shinobu was bewildered. This is the time of the Great Shinobi War. Why are you all here in the Land of Fire at this time? Akira Uchiha asked a nonsensical question. He didn't expect the other party to really answer his question. If you insist, it's for the mission. Everyone could tell that Captain Sakura Shinobu was just spouting nonsense. However, at the same time, Akira Uchiha was observing the other party. He wanted to use this opportunity to obtain some useful information. This was his real purpose. Judging from the bulging muscles of this captain, he should be good at wind release and a taijutsu-type jonin. The ninja in his 20s carried a huge scroll on his back. He should be a puppeteer. And the girl in her teens who was protected in the middle should be the scout ninja of the team. As for the last girl, she was the one who attracted most of Akira Ichibi's attention. Although her appearance was quite different from the future, he could still recognize her. She was the Scorch Release ninja Pakura. Speaking of which, this is another genius that Akira Uchiha met on the battlefield. Rock Village's Explosion Release, Sand Village's Raza, and now Pakura. This hero of Sakura Shinobu, who was betrayed by the village, was now in her teens and looked very young. In other words, Pakura was still a complete airport. When he thought of her big future, it seemed that all airports had the heart of a busty woman. However, although Pakura was still young, her appearance was already very outstanding. With Akira Uchiha's picky eyes, he could give her an 85 points. So it's not difficult to understand why Rope Tree's eyes were fixed on her. Akira Uchiha even suspected that Raza also liked Pakura. Then, after he became a 4th daimyo Kazekage, he hurriedly wanted to sleep with her, but he was rejected. In the end, Raza was so angry that he betrayed the village's hero. Otherwise, there's no way to explain Raza's suffocating behavior. Be careful, that girl's strength is not simple. Akira Uchiha quickly told his information to the others. Scorch Release was a very tricky Kekiai Genkai. Among these people, Akira Uchiha felt that Pakura was more dangerous. Sakura Shinobu Captain was also surprised. He didn't expect that the information of the genius of his village, Pakura, had already been obtained by Woodleaf. His face was gloomy. It seems that Raza was right, there was indeed a spy in Sakura Shinobu, and it was a hidden spy. Therefore, his anger almost reached a critical point. He waved his hand and attacked. Shuriken. Akira Uchiha tilted his head and dodged the enemy's attack. Go. In this kind of encounter, ninjas from different forces will fight to the death. Hey, are all Woodleaf's ninjas so unafraid of death? The Sand Captain sneered. What's the point of arguing? Akira Uchiha shook his head and ignored such words. Once he enters a combat state, some of his bad habits disappear, and are replaced by a calm personality like Orochimaru. This is why he gave Mikoto and Rope Tree such a sense of security. Akira Uchiha's voice didn't fall, he rushed out first. Mikoto's reaction wasn't slow either. She followed closely behind Hagoromo. Watergate and Rope Tree also rushed out. Chapter 176. Akira Uchiha lowered his body and moved quickly. Captain Sakura Shinobu saw Woodleaf Shinobu not only didn't retreat, but also directly rushed over, which made him a little confused. Why a Chunin and 3 genin dared to rush over, you tell me why? However, he quickly understood. Because the opponent's speed is too fast. This was his first reaction. However, Akira Uchiha can be even faster. When Akira Uchiha was 10 meters away from him, the chakra under his feet suddenly burst out, and his movement speed also soared in an instant. This is the advantage of the cell activation of lightning release chakra. Akira Uchiha's attack rhythm instantly changed, and the enemy simply didn't have time to make an effective response. Then he directly threw the genjutsu of the Sharingan directly at the 20-years-old puppet master. Facing Akira Uchiha's sudden attack, the puppet master had no way to stop it. After Akira Uchiha got close to the puppet master, he jumped up and saw that his kunai was about to pierce the puppet master's head, but Sakura Shinobu pulled his subordinate back. Then the Sand Shinobu's hand quickly turned over, and a complex hand seal was completed in an instant. Wind release, Great Wind Jutsu. A huge amount of wind under the guidance of a large number of chakra quickly gathered and rushed toward Akira Uchiha's position after destroying many trees. Wind release? Akira Uchiha, who had already expected the opponent's attack, was already prepared. The destructive power of the A-class wind jutsu, to some extent, is close to that of a natural disaster. So Akira Uchiha directly jumped up. After destroying the tree under Akira Uchiha's feet, the wind jutsu rushed toward him without slowing down. It's just that the wind jutsu hit an afterimage, and when he looked again, Akira Uchiha had already disappeared from the sky. Body flicker. Akira Uchiha, who jumped from a high place, held the kunai in his right hand, and at the moment he landed, his left leg suddenly kicked the ground, and at the same time, the lightning release erupted from his body, instantly completing the second acceleration. And like an arrow leaving the bow, he rushed towards the leader of the sand village. As for his three subordinates, they were already fighting Mikoto, Watergate, and Rope Tree. Good, haha, good. Sakura Shinobu flexed his muscles and rushed forward without dodging. He threw a punch at Akira Uchiha's fist. This punch had speed, strength, and toughness. All three were present. If one were to divide taijutsu into Steel Fist and Soft Fist, then Sakura Shinobu was undoubtedly using Steel Fist. Compared to Soft Fist, which was full of tenacity, Steel Fist was the purest and most violent embodiment of aesthetics. Fast, accurate, and ruthless, this is Akira Uchiha's most accurate understanding of his opponent. Akira Uchiha is not a strength-based ninja. His body has not been trained for a long time like Kai Huang, so in the face of this kind of attack, his taijutsu is not strong enough. The other side obviously thought so, but for insurance, Captain Sakura Shinobu's arm continued to be covered with a layer of earth-like armor. According to Sakura Shinobu's estimation, his fist is full of strength and is protected by the earth-style armor, so it should be a piece of cake for him to fight Akira Uchiha's fist. Even if Akira Uchiha uses his kunai, he may not be able to pierce through the earth-style armor. But Akira Uchiha doesn't need to pierce through the earth-style armor. Why would he need to pierce through the earth-style armor? This is the first time he met someone who can punch him. Maybe it's because of their skill and courage. When they see a ninja of my age, they will subconsciously look down on me? In the eyes of Captain Sakura Shinobu, Akira Uchiha's fist and his fist met. Then the earth escape technique shattered into pieces like glass. A strong force came, and he felt that he hit the wall. Then his body was like a kite with a broken string, and he was directly hit. When the blood spurted far away, he felt a sharp pain in his arm. Akira Uchiha, who succeeded in his attack, didn't hesitate and directly turned to face the puppeteer. Chidori's sharp spear. In an instant, the elongated right uncut through the chakra line between the puppet and the puppeteer, cutting off the connection between the two. So it also relieved the pressure of the rope tree. Akira Uchiha's movement speed soared again, and then he instantly approached the enemy's side, and at the same time, his body jumped high, and with great speed and power, his right leg directly kicked the puppeteer's back. The puppeteer's body was directly kicked, and then under the blow, he was severely smashed into the ground, and then bounced up from the ground. After this blow, even if the enemy didn't die, he was half disabled, so Akira Uchiha didn't stop and continued to kill other ninjas. It's just that the puppeteer was followed by the rope tree. Although the rope tree didn't have the strength of Akira Uchiha, he was more powerful. When the enemy was still rolling on the ground, he just arrived, and then he kicked the enemy's head again. Finally, Under the black foot of the rope tree, the puppeteer was dead. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.